Chosen one, God is furious. Not disappointed, not patient, furious. And the fury is not directed at your enemies. It is not pointed at the people who overlooked you or the doors that closed in your face. The fury of heaven in this moment is directed at something you have been doing with your own mouth every single day without knowing what it has been costing you. You have been speaking the sacred thing into ears that were not assigned to receive it. You have been announcing the calling before it was ready to survive exposure. And the most protected season of your entire formation has been leaking through every word you did not know to withhold. This message has found you for a reason, and the reason is specific. You are not here because you stumbled across something interesting. You are here because what is being formed inside you is so close to its appointed moment, so near to the threshold of manifestation, that heaven could not afford to let you walk into the next 30 days without this warning reaching you first. Before you continue, you need to understand what kind of message this is. This is not about fear. It is not about persecution. It is not about an enemy who has been watching your steps. What you are about to receive is the urgency of a God who loves you too much to watch you give away the thing he has been protecting in you before it has been strong enough to survive the world. God is not furious at you. He is furious on your behalf. He is furious because he sees what your words have been doing to the assignment he placed in you. And he sees you doing it without knowing. He sees you speaking out of care, out of excitement, out of the need to be understood, and he watches the sacred thing lose its weight with every premature word. And today, something changed. A message was prepared. A window opened. And through that window, this specific word was sent to you because you are the kind of person whose calling is far too important to leave unprotected for another season. There is a version of the next 30 days that heaven is watching with grief. In that version, you keep speaking. You keep announcing the plan to the wrong room. You keep explaining your vision to people who do not have the capacity to carry it. You keep defending your silence to those who expect your constant access, and then breaking the silence just to stop the guilt. In that version, the thing being formed inside you dissolves under the weight of premature exposure, not because someone destroyed it, but because you handed it to the world before it had a name, before it had roots, before it was ready to stand on its own. But that is not the only version. And the reason the Holy Spirit broke through to get you this message is because the second version is still available to you. The version where you close your mouth. The version where you keep the calling sacred. The version where what God is doing in you finally has the protection it needs to complete what it came to do. By the time you finish receiving what I have to say, you will understand exactly what God is furious about. You will understand why your silence is not absence, but architecture. You will understand why the most dangerous thing you can do with a sacred season is announce it before it is ready. And you will understand how to carry this calling the way the chosen have always carried it, which is quietly, strategically, and with the fierce protection of someone who knows what they are holding. Stay with me. What comes next is the reason you are here. What has been happening is specific, not what you suspected, not what you feared. What has actually been happening every time you opened your mouth about the thing God placed in your hands. There is a law in the spiritual realm. It is not a soft suggestion. It is a structural law that operates the way gravity operates. You do not choose whether gravity works on you. You do not opt in or opt out, depending on how you feel that morning. Gravity works on everything in its domain all the time, regardless of your awareness of it. This spiritual law works the same way. It is called the law of faith gestation. And what it says is this: every sacred assignment, every calling, every vision that carries the weight of eternity requires a period of hidden formation before it can survive exposure. Think of the way every significant living thing begins. The seed does not push its head above the soil on the first day. It forms a root system in the darkness first. The root system is not visible. It is not impressive. To anyone watching from above, nothing is happening. But underground, in the hidden place, everything is happening. The structure is being built that will one day support the weight of the whole tree. The womb does not open on day 3 of pregnancy to show the world what is being formed. The formation happens in the secret place first. The darkness is not punishment. The hiddenness is not delay. It is the necessary condition for the thing to become what it needs to become before the world can see it. This is the law God built into everything that carries real life, and your calling operates under the same law. What is forming inside you needs the darkness of protection before it can survive the light of exposure. But here is where the fury of God enters the picture, because there is something that disrupts this process, something that interrupts the gestation and forces a premature exposure that the forming thing cannot survive. And that thing is the mouth, not your enemies, not the circumstances, not the spiritual forces aligned against you. The thing that has been disrupting the formation of what God placed in you is your own voice, speaking the sacred thing before its time, pulling it out of the darkness where it was growing, and holding it up to the light of other of the people opinions before it had the strength to stand. God is furious because he watches you do this over and over. He watches the assignment begin to form. He watches the root system establish. He watches the thing take shape in the hidden place. And then he watches you pick up your phone, or open your mouth in that conversation, or answer the question of the person who has no business asking, and he watches the thing you just gave away lose its weight in the room. You have been doing this your whole life, and until today you did not have the language for what was happening. You just knew that every time you told someone about the dream, something shifted. Every time you announced the plan, the energy left. Every time you shared the vision with the group, it felt different afterward, less certain, less alive, like something had been taken. You were not imagining that. That was real. What you felt was the law of faith gestation being violated. The sacred thing was pulled from the darkness too early. And the moment it was exposed to an environment it was not ready for, it began to lose the quality that made it sacred. This is not metaphor. This is the mechanism behind every story you have ever heard about the person who talked too much about the blessing before it arrived and then watched it never come. It is the mechanism behind the business idea that died the moment it was shared in the wrong room. It is the mechanism behind the relationship that was over before it started, because one person told 6 people about it, and the weight of 6 opinions crushed what was still too fragile to carry them. But why does this happen? What is the actual mechanics of how speech disrupts formation? There are 3 angles to this truth, and you need to hear all 3 before you can understand the full weight of what God is furious about. The first is behavioral, the second is emotional, and the third is spiritual. Let me walk you through each one. Behavioral. Every time you announce a plan, a shift happens in your psychology. The brain, which is designed to conserve energy, receives the announcement as partial completion. When you tell someone about the goal, the social reward of being seen having the goal partially satisfies the drive that was supposed to push you toward the goal itself. You told the story, you received the acknowledgement, and the part of you that needed the outcome partially rested. This is not weakness, this is biology. Studies on goal commitment consistently show that articulating a goal to others before achieving it reduces the internal pressure to complete it. The telling of the thing substitutes, in some degree, for the doing of the thing, and the more detailed the telling, the more the substitution occurs. But in the spiritual realm, there is something even more significant happening. When you announce the calling before it is ready, you are not just releasing internal pressure. You are placing the forming thing under the weight of the people belief systems. And most people, however much they love you, carry beliefs about what is possible that are smaller than what God is forming in you. The moment you bring a fragile forming thing into contact with someone who does not have the capacity to receive it, their reaction, whether skeptical or overly enthusiastic, begins to shape the thing. Not because they have power over your calling, but because you do. And when you hear their response, you begin to adjust the calling to fit what they reflected back at you. Think about the last time you shared something sacred with someone who reacted with doubt. What happened inside you? Not to the external plan. Inside you. The formation began to constrict. The certainty you had before, the conversation began to blur. The clear picture of what was coming started to take on the edges of their skepticism. And then, think about the last time you shared something fragile with someone who was too enthusiastic, too immediately certain, too quick to add their ideas and their vision to what you had barely begun to see. What happened? The thing that was yours began to feel like it belonged to both of you. The sacred boundary of the assignment began to expand in ways that felt exciting but were actually diluting. Both reactions, the skeptical and the enthusiastic, share the same problem. They are both forms of premature exposure, and premature exposure is what God is furious about. The second angle is emotional, and this is the one most chosen ones carry the deepest shame around. Because this angle requires you to see something honest about why you speak too soon. You do not announce the calling because you are weak, you announce it because speech has always been your way of managing the fear of being alone in something too big to carry. When the vision is too large and the uncertainty is too heavy and the formation is taking longer than you expected, the temptation to speak it out loud is not just about excitement. It is about finding someone to share the weight. And that makes sense. That is a human response to an impossible situation. You are carrying something that has not yet manifested. You cannot show anyone evidence. You cannot prove what you know to be true. And in the silence of that formation period, the loneliness can become unbearable. So you speak, not to announce, but to find someone to say yes to what you are carrying. But here is what God wants you to hear in this moment. The people you have been speaking it to were not assigned to carry it with you. Some of them were people who loved you, but could not hold the weight of what you were handing them. Some of them were people whose role in your life was never to be the keeper of your calling. And some of them were people who were not capable of giving back to you what you needed them to give. Not because they were bad people, but because they were not designated custodians of the thing God placed in you. When you speak the sacred thing to the wrong ear, you are not just leaking, you are placing a responsibility on someone who was never meant to carry it. And then you feel the absence of the response you needed. The confirmation did not come. The agreement was hollow. The encouragement felt thin, and you walk away from the conversation carrying the calling, and now also carrying the weight of their insufficient response. You did not lose faith in the calling. You lost faith in the calling as reflected through a mirror that was never meant to reflect it. There is something in this specific season that I want you to understand before I name what God is actually furious about. You are in a time in your life when what is forming inside you is so significant that the protection around it matters more than it ever has before. You are closer to the threshold than you have ever been, and the enemy of your assignment is not the person who doubts you. It is not the closed door. It is not the delay. The enemy of your assignment in this moment is the premature word. What you have been carrying, the thing that wakes you at specific hours, the thing that surfaces in your quietest moments, the thing that you can feel but cannot yet fully name, that thing is ready. Not to be announced, not to be explained, not to be defended. It is ready to be protected. And the protection God is calling you to right now is the protection of silence. And this is the point where I want to be transparent with you about something, because you have stayed with this message and you have been receiving this truth in a way that tells me you were ready for it. There is a specific tool that was built for this exact season. The feeling you have right now, the recognition, the weight of what is being named in your spirit, that feeling has a frequency, a measurable one that the ancient traditions identified and that modern instruments now confirm. And there is a path that was designed specifically for chosen ones who are in the formation season, the season of sacred silence, where the inside work must be protected from outside noise. What I am about to tell you is available at the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Not because I am here to sell you something, but because what you are carrying right now is real, and what is available at that link was designed to resource what you are going through. The ancients who understood the law of faith gestation also understood that the formation season requires internal conditions, not just external silence, not just the closing of the mouth toward other people, but an internal environment where the frequency of wonder, the frequency of the child who knows something is coming without needing to explain it, is alive and active inside you. The tool at that link works with that frequency, and if what you have been receiving in this message has been landing in your spirit the way I believe it has, that link is worth your time. Check it when this is over. For now, stay with me, because what comes next is the part that will change how you understand everything you just heard. Now, let me take you to the third angle, the spiritual one, the one that answers the question of why God is specifically furious about this. In the wisdom traditions of the ancient world, there was a concept that every culture with deep spiritual roots understood. The concept was the sacred secret, not a secret kept out of shame or fear or manipulation. A sacred secret, something held in holy protection because its power depended on the condition of the container it was held in. The ancient priests understood this. The ancient prophets understood this. The wisdom figures whose lives are recorded in the sacred texts understood this not as a technique, but as a way of life. There were things you did not speak until the time was appointed for the speaking. Not because the speaking was wrong, but because the timing of the speaking was as sacred as the thing itself. When you speak before the appointed time, you are not just making a strategic error, you are violating a sacred protocol. You are removing a thing from the protective custody of heaven before heaven has released it. And heaven, which is the environment where the sacred things are formed, takes the release of those things seriously. God is furious because he gave you something precious. He placed it in the secret chamber of your formation. He surrounded it with the conditions it needed to become what it needed to become. And then he watched you reach into that sacred chamber, pull the forming thing out before it was ready, and carry it into conversations and rooms and relationships that did not have the capacity to hold it. He is not furious because you are a failure. He is furious because you are a chosen one who does not yet know the protocol of what you are carrying. And that is what today changes. What you are carrying right now is a deadly secret, not because it is dangerous, but because what it contains, when it is properly formed and properly timed and properly released, will be the most powerful thing you have ever released into the world. And the enemy of everything you are carrying knows this, which is why the pressure to speak before the time has been consistently, relentlessly applied to your life. Have you ever noticed that the pressure to speak, to explain, to defend, to announce, tends to come at the exact moments when the formation is most fragile, when the calling is most alive and most new? When the seed is in its most delicate stage of root development, that pressure is not random. It is the precise targeting of the one mechanism that can interrupt what God is building in you. And you have answered that pressure more times than you know, not out of rebellion, out of the very human need to have your reality witnessed by another person, out of the ache to be known, truly known, by someone who can see what you see. But God is saying today that He is the witness, He is the one who sees, He is the one who knows. And He is not asking you to carry this alone, He is asking you to carry it with Him. In the sacred quiet of a relationship, where no explanation is required, where no defense is needed, where the formation can proceed under the full protection of a God who sees exactly what is being built and is not worried about the timeline. The reason this season requires your silence is not punishment. It is because God is jealous for what He placed in you. Jealous in the way a parent is jealous for a child who is too young to understand what they are carrying into danger. He is not angry at you. He is fierce for you. And the fierceness of His protection in this season looks like a shut mouth. That is what the fury is about. That is what heaven is guarding. And that is what you are going to understand how to honor by the time this message is complete. There is something I need to ask you right now, before we go further. Has something I have said in the last few minutes landed in a place inside you that felt like recognition? Not like agreement with a new idea, like recognition of something you already knew but did not have a name for? If something in your spirit just confirmed what was spoken over you in these words, if there was a settling, a resonance, a sense of, yes, that is the same spirit that was speaking before this message began. And that spirit is asking you to seal this moment. Type 777 inches the comments, not as a number, as a declaration, that the divine appointment is confirmed, as a seal that says, you received this, and you know it was meant for you. Type 777, and then stay with me. There is something that happens in the spirit when a chosen one decides to protect the sacred thing. It is not passive. It is not the absence of action. It is one of the most active, intentional, warfare-level commitments a human being can make, because every force in the natural world will conspire to get you talking. Every relationship in your life will create friction around your silence. Every voice around you will have a reason for why you should explain yourself, why you should share the update, why you should let them in on what God is doing. And in the face of all of that, choosing not to speak is not withdrawal. It is not avoidance. It is holy warfare. It is standing at the gate of the sacred thing and refusing to let in what has not been authorized to enter. And this, more than any other act of spiritual discipline, is what God is asking of the chosen in this season. The ancients who moved in the highest levels of divine assignment understood this. They were not people who were naturally quiet. They were people who learned, through experience and formation, that the most dangerous thing they could do with what God had given them was give the world access to it before the time. Not because the world was evil, but because the world operates on a different timeline than heaven, and the world has a way of pressing the sacred thing into the shape of what it can understand, rather than letting the sacred thing take the shape that God designed. This is why Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before a word of his assignment was spoken publicly. Not because God forgot him, not because the time of preparation was punishment for the rashness of his youth, but because the assignment that Moses was being prepared to carry required a container that could not be built in public. The formation of a deliverer requires decades of hidden work that no crowd can witness and no applause can accelerate. And the moment Moses stepped out of that hidden season, the word was ready to stand on its own. This is why the most effective people who ever carried divine assignments carried them quietly for long stretches, not because they were hiding, because they were protecting. because they understood that the word spoken before its time does not just fail to accomplish its purpose, it actually damages the purpose. It creates opposition that was not yet necessary. It invites scrutiny that the forming thing cannot yet withstand. It draws in the energy of other people before the forming thing has developed the roots to absorb that energy without being reshaped by it. And this is what God is warning you about today. The next move in your life is not a public move. The next move is the quietest thing you have ever done. The next move must be a deadly secret, not because it is shameful, but because it is sacred. And sacred things are not protected by announcing them. They are protected by guarding them with the same fierce, intentional, uncompromising commitment that a soldier has toward the thing they have been assigned to carry through enemy territory. You are in enemy territory right now, not physically, spiritually. The territory between where you are and where God is taking you is territory that has been contested. And the most effective tool of opposition in that territory is not the closed door or the delayed promise or the difficult circumstance. The most effective tool of opposition in that territory is the premature announcement. Because the premature announcement turns the sacred protection of secrecy into the vulnerability of public formation, and the forming thing, now visible to every competing force in the environment, must survive pressures it was not yet built to withstand. God is not asking you to be silent forever. He is asking you to be silent until the formation is complete, until the roots are deep enough, until the thing you are carrying has the substance it needs to survive the exposure. And that until may be shorter than you think, but it requires the deliberate, daily, committed discipline of the shut mouth. What does this look like practically? That is what I am going to walk you through in detail. But before I do, I need to show you something about yourself that will explain why this has been so difficult. Because if you have been leaking the sacred thing through premature speech, it is not because you are undisciplined or faithless. It is because something happened early in your life that taught you that speech equals safety, that being heard equals being loved, that silence equals abandonment. And until you understand the root of the pattern, you cannot transform it. Stay with me. What comes next will show you not just what to do, but why the doing of it will change everything. There is a wound that many chosen ones carry. It is not the wound of rejection, though rejection may have been part of the story. It is not the wound of abandonment, though abandonment may have left its mark. It is a wound that forms at the intersection of sensitivity and the discovery that your sensitivity was not safe in the environments you were given. Very early in life, you were aware of things other children were not aware of. You felt the weight of rooms before you entered them. You sensed the undercurrent beneath words that were spoken with a smile. You perceived things that the adults around you were not perceiving, or were perceiving and choosing not to name. And because of this, you were, in one way or another, told by your environment that what you were sensing was too much, too intense, too strange, too much of a disruption to the way things were supposed to feel. And so you learned something. You learned that the safest way to be in a room was to speak what the room expected, to name the things that were already named, to explain yourself in ways that made sense to the people around you, to translate the depth of what you were experiencing into words that fit the container of what they could receive. And this translation, this constant work of making yourself comprehensible to environments that were not built for what you carried, became the habit that is now costing you the season you are in. You learned that being heard equals being accepted. You learned that explaining equals safety. You learned that the way to manage the uncertainty of the invisible was to make it visible through words. Because once you could put words around it, other people could tell you whether it was real or whether you were imagining it. And their answer whether spoken or implied, became the measure by which you decided whether to keep carrying the thing or set it down. This is the root of the premature announcement, not excitement, not carelessness, not faithlessness, a wound that says the thing is only real when someone else confirms it. A wound that says your inner knowing is not enough without external validation. A wound that says the silence is dangerous, because in the silence, what if you are wrong and no one has told you yet? And God is saying to you today that this wound has had its season of influence, and that season is over. Because the thing you are carrying right now is too real, too close, too ready for the harvest, to be measured by the capacity of the ears you have been speaking into. And the confirmation you have been seeking from other people is already being given to you by a voice that does not require your announcement to know what it is speaking about. The ancient traditions identified something called the decline of the child mind frequency. In the earliest traditions of Western contemplative sound practice, the ones preserved in the great chanting communities, the ones embedded in the acoustic architecture of the temple builders, there was a consistent observation. Children are born with open access to a quality of perception that gradually closes as they encounter the weight of socialized adult experience. The monks who spent their lives studying this called it the silencing, not a spiritual event, but a developmental one. The child who once received reality with the open wonder of full presence begins, around the 7th year of life, to construct the armor of explanation. The armor that says, I must be able to justify what I perceive. I must be able to defend what I know. I must be able to make sense to the world around me or risk being dismissed as strange. Modern instruments that measure the frequency of brain activity have a name for the state that the ancient contemplatives were describing. They call it gamma. It is the frequency associated with the highest states of perception, the deepest integration of information, the most alive quality of presence that a human being can experience. And the ancient traditions observed that this frequency, which every child is born with full access to, begins to dim under the weight of the social pressure to be explainable. The gamma frequency is not lost, it is suppressed. The way a flame is not extinguished but reduced when the container around it restricts the oxygen. The frequency is still in you. It has always been in you. But the layers of armor, the layers of having to explain and justify and make yourself comprehensible, have reduced the access to that frequency to a flicker of what it was designed to be. And here is why this matters for the message you are receiving right now. The quality of perception that allows you to carry a calling silently, to hold the sacred thing without needing to announce it, to know the reality of the forming assignment without requiring external confirmation. That quality is precisely the gamma frequency, the child mind awareness, the state in which you received reality as gift without needing to explain the receiving. The reason speech has been your default protection mechanism is not weakness. It is the natural response of a person whose gamma access has been reduced and who is therefore carrying the calling through the more effortful channel of external validation rather than the effortless channel of internal certainty. The declaration requires less energy when the frequency is alive. This is what I will speak more about before this message ends. But first, I need you to recognize yourself in what I am about to say, because recognition is the beginning of transformation. There are signs, specific, undeniable signs, that indicate a person whose sacred assignment has been leaking through premature speech, not signs of failure. Signs of a specific pattern that, when seen clearly, can be transformed. And I want you to hear each one and let it land in the place it is meant to land. The first sign is this: you have announced a dream and then watched it wither in the days after the announcement, not slowly. Specifically, there was a version of the dream that was alive before you spoke it. And after you spoke it, the aliveness shifted. The energy was different. The certainty was thinner. And no matter how much you tried to recover the original feeling of knowing the specific quality of it before the words, you could not find it again in the same way. It was as though the speaking of it changed the thing itself. If you have experienced this, you are not imagining it. You did not kill the dream, but you did remove it from the protective environment it needed to complete its formation. And the thinning of the aliveness that you felt was not discouragement. It was the natural consequence of a forming thing, meeting an environment it was not yet ready for. The reason this happened is specific. When the dream is inside you, it is surrounded by the exact energetic conditions it needs for its development. Your internal certainty, your quiet faith, the alignment between the forming thing and the God who is forming it. When you speak the dream before its time, you introduce the dream to a set of conditions that are determined by the person you spoke it to. And unless that person is operating at the exact frequency required to receive the dream in its current state, those conditions are incompatible with the formation. Think of it the way a premature birth operates in the natural world. The baby exists before the birth. It is real. It has a heartbeat. It has the complete genetic blueprint of who it will become. But without the full gestation, without the complete formation that the womb was designed to provide, the baby enters an environment it is not yet equipped to survive in its full capacity. And every system in the medical team is devoted to replicating as closely as possible the conditions of the womb until the baby can sustain its own systems. The dream you spoke too early did not die, but it needed more of you to sustain it outside the womb of internal formation than you had to give. And the energy required to keep it alive in the public environment was energy that would have been available to develop it further in the private one. The second sign: you over-explain yourself in relationships and feel unheard anyway. There is a pattern in your communication where you offer more detail than the moment requires, more context than the person asked for, more justification than the situation demands. And still, after all of that explaining, the other person does not seem to have received what you were trying to communicate. You walk away feeling like you gave everything and arrived nowhere. This is the sign of a person who learned to speak in the language of justification rather than the language of authority. And the reason justification fails where authority succeeds is that justification is calibrated to the listener. It is always trying to get the listener to agree. Authority is calibrated to truth. It says what is true and then rests, regardless of whether the listener agrees. The chosen one, who carries a calling in the language of justification, exhausts themselves trying to make other people understand what they are doing and why. And the more they explain, the more the conversation circles without arriving. Because explanation is an invitation for debate, and the calling was not meant to be debated. It was meant to be protected. The shift that God is calling you to is not a shift from speaking to silence. It is a shift from justification to authority. From "I need you to understand why I am doing this" to "this is what is happening," and it does not require your understanding to be real. And the first step of that shift is learning that most of what you have been trying to explain does not actually need to be explained at all. It needs to be protected. The third sign: there is a knowing inside you of something that is forming, something you can feel but cannot yet name, something that comes in the quiet moments, something that shows up as a direction, a pull, a sense of movement towards something that has not yet taken a shape you can describe in words. And you have been carrying this unnamed thing in a state of low-level anxiety because it is real enough to feel, but not yet clear enough to articulate. And the anxiety has been pushing you toward finding the words, speaking it out, making it definable. Because once it has a definition, the anxiety has somewhere to go. If this describes you, What you are experiencing is not anxiety about the calling. It is the natural state of someone who is in the deepest stage of formation, the stage before the thing has its name, the stage where the only appropriate response is the quietest, most devoted listening you have ever practiced. Because the name will come, the clarity will come, the moment when the thing inside you crystallizes into language that is precise enough to carry will come. But that moment is not supposed to be rushed into by the anxiety of having to explain what you are carrying before it is ready to be explained. That moment is supposed to arrive in the fullness of its appointed time, fully formed, fully certain, fully capable of standing in the world without requiring your defense. The anxiety you feel around the unnamed thing is not a signal to speak. It is a signal to deepen your relationship with the one who is naming it. And that relationship is built not in the noise of announcement, but in the sacred silence of intimate formation. The fourth sign. You have felt compelled to defend your silence to people who were never meant to hold your plans. Someone in your life has been asking questions, not out of care, out of the sense that your quiet is a judgment of them, or a threat to the closeness they expect, or a sign that something is wrong that they are entitled to know about. And in the face of that pressure, you have broken the silence, not because you wanted to, but because the cost of keeping it felt higher than the cost of opening it. And after you opened it, you knew immediately that you should not have, not because the person was malicious, but because the conversation that followed required you to defend and explain and clarify in ways that left you more exhausted than you were before you started. And the thing you shared, the sacred piece of the formation, felt smaller in the room after the conversation than it felt in your spirit before it. The compulsion to defend your silence to people who were not assigned to receive the calling is one of the clearest signs that the formation is real and close. Because opposition to holy silence is always highest when the forming thing is most ready. The pressure to speak, the expectation of access, the guilt about your unavailability, all of these intensify at the exact moment when the silence most needs to be maintained. You are not obligated to explain your quiet. You are not required to justify your protection of the sacred. You are not responsible for the comfort of people who feel entitled to access a season that God designated as private. That may sound like a harder boundary than you are used to drawing, but the fierceness of it is proportional to the value of what you are protecting. The fifth sign. You carry a quiet grief about the times you spoke too soon. There is a specific sadness in you around the memory of the dream you told before it was time, the plan you announced before it was anchored, the vision you shared with the wrong person at the wrong moment. And the grief is not regret in the ordinary sense. It is the grief of someone who sensed the sacredness of what they were carrying and then watched it be diminished in a moment they cannot take back. This grief is not condemnation, it is evidence. It is evidence that you knew, on some level, even in the moment, that what you were sharing was too sacred for the room you were sharing it in. The grief is the confirmation that you have spiritual sensitivity around the sacred secret, and that sensitivity, now that it has been named and seen and honored, is exactly what will protect you going forward. You are not carrying the grief of someone who failed, you are carrying the grief of someone who is about to learn to do this differently. And the difference, when you begin to practice it, will be one of the most significant shifts of this entire season. There is a second layer to this that I want to show you, and it is the layer that produces the most healing, because everything I have described so far has been about the pattern, the compulsion, the root, the signs, but behind all of it is an invitation. The invitation to understand that the God who placed this calling in you is also the God who is asking you to stop carrying it through speech and start carrying it through spirit. To stop managing the fear of the formation season with announcements and start managing it with the intimacy of a conversation that only happens in the quiet. If something in what you just heard landed in a place that felt true, if you recognized yourself in any of those 5 signs, type the words, "I see it" in the comments, not as a performance, as a witness, as a declaration that you have been seen in this message and you are receiving what was spoken. Type, "I see it." Now I want to speak to something that lives underneath all of this. Something that produces a specific kind of pain that most chosen ones carry for years without ever having a name for it. It is called the growth guilt, and it is one of the heaviest things a person in formation can be asked to carry because it does not feel like an obstacle. It feels like sensitivity. It feels like conscience. It feels like love. The growth guilt is the guilt you feel every time you become less available to someone who expects your constant access. It is the guilt of growing quiet when the people around you are used to your conversation. It is the weight of becoming more internal, more focused, more protective of your energy, when the people who love you are used to the version of you that gave freely and without reserve. And the growth guilt is particularly acute for chosen ones, because chosen ones are, by nature, deeply relational. You are not withdrawing because you do not care. You are withdrawing because you are in a season that requires the depth of your attention, and the depth of your attention cannot be in 2 places at once. You cannot be fully present to the formation and fully available to the expectations of every relationship that was built on the previous version of you. But the guilt does not feel like a sign of growth. It feels like a sign of failure. It feels like you are becoming someone you do not want to be, less warm, less giving, less connected to the people you love. And the discomfort of that perception, both what you feel about yourself and what you imagine others feel about you, has been driving you back into the patterns of speech and availability and explanation that interrupt the sacred work. You have been apologizing for outgrowing what you needed to outgrow. You have been explaining the silence to people who were never assigned to understand it. You have been managing the discomfort of your withdrawal by giving access in moments when the formation required you to hold the boundary. And every time you did, you paid a cost that was not visible from the outside but was deeply felt on the inside. The cost of breaking the formation boundary in order to manage the discomfort of someone else is not the lost time. It is the interruption to the formation itself. The formation cannot resume exactly where it left off when interrupted. It has to rebuild the conditions. The internal quiet has to be re-established. The clarity that was present before the interruption has to be recovered. And every interruption extends the season by the length of the recovery period. God is not asking you to abandon your relationships. He is asking you to stop letting the management of your relationships override the management of the formation. He is asking you to trust that the people who were assigned to remain in your life through this season will remain. And the people who were assigned to accompany only a portion of the journey will depart, not because you failed them, but because the season of their accompaniment has been completed. The most painful truth about this season is that some of what you are grieving as relationship failure is actually completion. Some of the people who are stepping back from you are not rejecting you, they are releasing you. And some of the people you are stepping back from are not being abandoned. They are being released to find the community that matches the version of them that was never a match for the version of you that is emerging. But the guilt does not make these exits feel like completion. It makes them feel like loss. And because they feel like loss, the temptation is to speak, to explain, to apologize, to pour words into the space where the separation is occurring in the hope that the words will repair what the season has already sealed. And what I need you to hear is that the words will not repair what the season has sealed. The exits are not injuries that speech can heal. They are completions that silence can honor. The most dignified thing you can do for a relationship that has run its course is to let it end without filling the ending with explanations that neither person will be satisfied by. There is also a pattern that runs parallel to the growth guilt. It is what happens specifically around your calling and the people who have had expectations about your availability for their vision, their plans, their sense of how your gifts should be used. There are people in your life who have come to expect that your energy is available to them, that when they have a need, you will be there to fill it, that when they have a vision, you will be one of the voices supporting it. And in this season, as you have been called into the silence of your own formation, you have felt the pull of those expectations, the request for your presence, your input, your participation in something that is not yours to carry. And the guilt of having less to give has been another layer of pressure pushing you back toward the mouth. You have been confusing loyalty with availability. You have been operating as though the most loving thing you can do for the people in your life is remain perpetually accessible and perpetually generous with your energy. And the exhaustion of maintaining that kind of availability has been masking itself as devotion when it has actually been a form of self-abandonment. The most loyal thing you can do for the people assigned to your life is to become the fullness of what God placed in you, not the worn-out, overextended, perpetually explaining version. The fully formed, deeply rooted, strategically silent version who carries the calling with the authority of someone who has guarded it through its entire formation. And that version of you can only emerge from the other side of this season, the season where you close the mouth, protect the calling, and stop managing the comfort of everyone else as your growth continues. There is a gift that comes with this understanding, and the gift is permission. So right now, in this moment, I want to speak permission over your life. Not suggestion, permission. Given to you by the God who designed the formation and who sees exactly what you are carrying. You are allowed to go quiet, not as a withdrawal from love, as an act of it. You are allowed to protect what is being built inside you, even from the people who love you, even from the people who have earned your trust, even from the people who mean only the best. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that needed to be heard at every moment. You are allowed to leave behind the person who explained their every decision in order to manage the reactions of other people to it. You are allowed to become someone who speaks less and carries more. You are allowed to let people misunderstand you in this season. You are allowed to be labeled as withdrawn, as distant, as unavailable. You are allowed to let the labels stand without reaching for the words to correct them. Because what God is building in you does not need to be understood by the people who are not assigned to receive it. You are allowed to protect the forming thing. You are allowed to close the gate around the sacred secret. You are allowed to say no to the requests that would pull you out of the formation. You are allowed to disappoint the expectations that were built on a version of you that this season is in the process of completing. And you do not owe anyone an apology for the emerging. You do not owe anyone an explanation for the quiet. You do not owe the world access to the process of becoming what you were placed here to become. The becoming belongs to you and to the God who designed it. And I hear the Spirit saying something to you right now, directly, specifically, for you. I see what you have been carrying. I see how heavy the silence has been. I see the guilt of the growth and the grief of the exits, and the loneliness of carrying something that has not yet found its voice. I see every moment you chose to speak when the Spirit told you to hold. I see every conversation where you gave away what I was protecting in you. and I see that you did it not out of rebellion, but out of the human need to be known. And I want you to know that I know you, every part of you, every layer of the calling, every stage of the formation, every root that is growing in the hidden place. I am not waiting for you to announce it. I have already seen it. And what I am asking you to do in this season is not to suffer in silence. It is to commune with me in it. The silence I am calling you to is not empty. It is the fullest place you have ever been. It is the place where the frequency you were born with is being restored. It is the place where the child, who knew without needing to explain, comes back to life. And when that child is fully awake, the calling will speak itself with a clarity and a weight that no amount of premature announcement could have produced. Trust the quiet, guard the forming thing, and meet me in the silence. There is a life that was recorded not as a spiritual biography, but as a direct address to everyone who would ever carry an assignment too large for the container of public understanding. His name was Moses, and the 40 years he spent in the wilderness before a single public word of his calling was spoken are not a footnote in his story. They are the story. When Moses left the palace, he left a world where his identity was built on public position, where the name he carried meant something to everyone in the room, where his access to power was visible and his status was legible to every eye that looked at him. And then, in the space of one act, the act of protecting one of his people at the cost of everything else, all of that visibility collapsed. The public life ended. The public name became a liability. And he ran. He ran to the wilderness, not toward a new public assignment, not toward a platform that would replace the one he had lost. He ran to a place of complete hiddenness, a place where the only title he held was shepherd, a place where the skills that had once made him a significant figure in the most powerful court in the known world were replaced by the quiet work of following animals across land that did not care who he had been. And what was happening in those 40 years? Not nothing. The most significant formation of a life that would eventually carry millions of people through one of the most impossible geographic and spiritual journeys in human history was happening in those 40 years of hiddenness. The patience was being built. The capacity to hear a voice in silence was being developed. The humility that would eventually allow a man to follow instructions that made no natural sense was being shaped in a context where no human audience was watching. Moses did not spend those 40 years preparing a speech. He spent them becoming a man who could hear one, and the hearing required the silence that the palace would never have given him. The hearing required the hiddenness that the wilderness provided. And when the moment came, when the bush burned and the voice spoke, Moses was not a man who announced his calling to the crowd. He was a man who had been formed in enough silence to hear it clearly when it finally arrived. This is your wilderness, not a punishment, not a detour, not the consequence of something you did wrong. This is the formation environment that the assignment you carry requires. And the 40 years of Moses were not wasted years. They were the most productive years of his entire existence. Every day of hiddenness was a deposit into the container that would one day have to carry the weight of a nation. What the wilderness teaches that the palace cannot is the capacity to act without applause, the capacity to serve without recognition, the capacity to trust a direction that has not been confirmed by any human voice. Moses, in the wilderness, had no one to announce the calling to. There was no court of advisors to validate the direction. There was no community of supporters to confirm that he was on the right path. There was only the quiet, the animals, and the growing capacity for a quality of internal listening that 40 years in a palace had not been able to produce. And when the burning bush appeared, Moses did not miss it, because he had become a man who could recognize the unusual. A man who, through years of quietness, had developed the sensitivity to notice what others walking the same road might have passed by without slowing. The bush was burning in a world where most people were too busy moving to notice what was still. Moses noticed because his formation had been preparing him for the moment of noticing. Your formation is preparing you for a moment of noticing, a moment when what has been forming in the hidden place is finally ready to be seen, not announced, seen. There is a difference between the chosen one who announces the calling before the formation is complete and the chosen one who allows the calling to be revealed in its appointed moment. The announcement is premature exposure. The revelation is divine timing. And the chosen one, who has learned to live in the silence of the wilderness, is the one who will be ready to receive the revelation when it comes. You have been running from the silence. You have been managing the discomfort of the hiddenness with words. But what Moses found in the wilderness, and what you are being called to find in yours, is that the silence is not the absence of the calling. It is the environment in which the calling becomes strong enough to carry you. Before I go further, gently press the like on this message, not for me. For the chosen one in your life who is in their wilderness right now, the one who looks like they have disappeared, the one who has gone quiet in ways that worry you, the one who is in the hiddenness and does not yet have the language for what is being formed in them. Let your action with this message be a signal that sends it further into the places where it needs to arrive. There is a second life that carries the message of the sacred secret in a way that is so precise for this specific moment in your story that I need you to receive it fully. Her name was Esther. And what Esther did with the sacred secret of her identity is one of the most strategic acts of formation protection in the entire record of divine history. When Esther entered the palace, she entered with an instruction from the one person who knew the weight of what she was carrying. Do not reveal your people or your kindred. Your identity as a member of the people of God is a sacred secret, not because it is shameful, not because it needs to be hidden forever, but because the timing of its revelation is the difference between the fulfillment of the purpose and the collapse of it. Esther was in the palace for a reason. The reason was larger than any individual conversation. The reason was larger than any individual relationship. The reason was larger than the comfort of being fully known in every space she occupied. The reason was appointed, strategic, and timed by a wisdom that saw further than she could see from inside the palace walls. And in order for the reason to be fulfilled, the secret had to be held until the moment was ready. She did not walk into the throne room on the first day and announce her identity. She did not broadcast the secret in order to manage the discomfort of living with it. She did not release it prematurely because the weight of holding it was heavy. She held it in the way that only a person who understands the difference between a secret that damages and a secret that protects can hold it. She held it until the moment arrived when the holding had served its purpose, and the revealing was the act that would accomplish what the holding had been preparing. The chapter of Esther is not just a story about the courage of a woman in a moment of crisis. It is a study in the strategic management of sacred information. It is a textbook on the discipline of speaking the right thing to the right person at the right time and holding everything else in holy protection until that moment comes. And the outcome, the reversal of a death decree, the protection of an entire people, the elevation of a woman from hidden identity to declared purpose, that outcome was only possible because the secret was held long enough for the conditions to be right for the revealing. Your calling is your Esther secret, not hidden because of shame, held because the conditions are not yet ready for the revealing. And the moment you reveal it prematurely, the same way Esther would have destroyed the purpose by revealing her identity at the wrong moment, you remove the forming thing from the context in which it has power and place it in a context that is not yet capable of receiving it. Esther also understood something about the cost of the speaking. When the moment finally came for her to speak, she was not casual about it. She approached the revealing with the same intentionality with which she had approached the concealing. She prepared. She fasted. She gathered herself in the kind of holy seriousness that says, "I know the weight of what I am about to release, and I am not releasing it carelessly." When you finally speak the sacred thing, it should feel like that, like a release that was earned by the holding, like a revelation that carries the weight of everything that was protected during the silent season, like a word that has been formed in quiet and is therefore dense with the substance of what the quiet produced. Not an announcement made in excitement, a declaration made in authority. And the authority only comes from the holding. The weight only comes from the protection. The power only comes from the willingness to remain in the hidden place long enough for what is being formed to complete its formation. This is what Moses found in the wilderness. This is what Esther demonstrated in the palace. And this is what you are being called into right now. The sacred secret of what you are carrying is not a burden, it is a responsibility. And the God who gave it to you also gave you the capacity to hold it. But that capacity must be developed. And the development happens not in the announcement, but in the quiet faithfulness of day after day of protection. Now let me speak to the areas of your life where the sacred silence will do its most powerful work. Because this is not just about the calling in the abstract. It is about the specific places in your life where the premature announcement has been costing you what you cannot afford to keep losing. The first area is your assignment, the specific thing you were placed here to do, the work that carries your unique signature on it, the contribution that only you can make in the way that only you can make it. This is the most important area to protect, because this is the area where the enemy of your purpose is most active in creating pressure to speak. The assignment that is closest to its manifestation is also the assignment that is most vulnerable to premature exposure, because the assignment that is close is the one that carries the most specific detail, the most tangible form, the most describable outline. And the more describable it is, the more tempting it is to describe it. But the proximity to manifestation is also the moment when the protection matters most, because the thing that is almost ready is also the most easily disrupted. Protect the assignment with your silence, not forever, until the appointed moment. And when that moment comes, you will know it not by the pressure of the people curiosity, but by the settled authority of the Spirit within you saying, "Now." That is when you speak, not before. The second area is your relationships, specifically the new ones, the connections that are forming in this season. The people who are arriving in your life and carrying a quality of alignment that feels unusual, feels sacred, feels different from the connections that came before. These relationships are delicate in their beginning. They are in formation the same way the calling is in formation, and they require the same kind of protection. Do not announce them before they have had time to take root. Do not define them before they have had time to reveal themselves. Do not create expectations around them before they have had time to develop their own natural form. Let them grow in the quiet protection of being unannounced, unnamed, and undiscussed with the people who are not part of them. The third area is your finances and provision, the specific channels of provision that are opening in this season, the opportunities that are arriving in the hidden place, the financial movement that is beginning to stir in ways you have not yet been able to quantify or describe. Do not speak about these prematurely. Do not discuss the coming before it has arrived. Do not announce the door before it has fully opened, because the provision that is in the process of arriving is still in a stage of formation that can be disrupted by premature publicity. This is a specific area where the people of God have historically lost provision by speaking it before it was established. Not because speech called opposition, though it can, but because speaking the provision before it arrives creates the expectation of the provision, and when the provision takes a different form than the announcement described, the gap between the description and the reality becomes a source of doubt that can interrupt the receiving. Hold the provision in holy anticipation. Receive it when it arrives. Speak of it after it has been received and established, not before. The fourth area is your faith, the specific work that God has been doing in your inner life in this season, the encounters you have been having in the quiet, the shifts in your perception, the deepening of your relationship with the divine in ways that are real and personal and not yet ready for the language of testimony. These are the most sacred things of all, and they are the most vulnerable to the cheapening that comes from being told to a room that is not ready to receive them. There will be a time for testimony. There will be a season when the work of the inner life is ready to be shared, and what you share will carry the power to shift others into the same depth of encounter. But that testimony is formed in the secret place first. It becomes powerful through the holding of it. The testimony that lands with weight is the testimony of someone who held it long enough for it to become the kind of thing that cannot be shaken by the response of anyone else. Hold the faith encounters in the sacred chamber of the relationship with God. Let them deepen. Let them root. Let them become the most certain thing in your life before you offer them to a world that needs certainty, not religious performance. Now I want to give you something practical, because understanding the why of the sacred silence is essential, but understanding the how is what turns the understanding into transformation. And there is a practice that has been carried through every tradition that has honored the discipline of holy quietness. A practice that is specific, actionable, and directly applicable to the season you are in right now. I call it the 3 sacred movements, not 3 steps of a program, 3 movements, like the movements of a piece of music, each one distinct, each one essential, each one building on the last. And together, they form the full practice of the holy silence that God is calling you into. The first movement is what I call the pause before the mouth. It is the simplest of the 3 and the most immediately transformative. Before you speak anything of significant weight, before you share the dream, the plan, the vision, the calling, the forming thing of any kind, you pause, not a polite social pause, a sacred pause. 5 breaths. 5 full, deliberate, conscious breaths. In those 5 breaths, you ask one question. Does this word serve the formation, or does it serve my comfort? Not is the information true, not is the person trustworthy, not is the moment appropriate. Just the one question. Does this word serve the formation, or does it serve my need to not be alone in carrying it? The answer will come in the body of the pause, not always as a clear instruction, sometimes as a settling or an unsettling, a sense of peace about the speaking or a sense of resistance to it. And in the early practice of this movement, you will find that more times than you expected, the answer is not yet. Not never. Not always. But not yet. And not yet is a form of protection that has been trying to speak to you for years, waiting for the moment when you would pause long enough to hear it. Practice the pause before the mouth in every conversation that touches the sacred things, not as a performance of spiritual discipline, as a genuine act of care for what you are carrying. You would pause before handing a fragile, irreplaceable thing to someone who had not yet proven they could hold it carefully. The calling is more fragile and more irreplaceable than any physical object. Give it the same care. The second movement is the sanctuary of one. This is the most relationally demanding of the 3 movements, because it requires you to identify one relationship in your life, one person who will function as the designated receiver of the sacred things. Not a person who knows everything, not a general confidant for every area of life. One specific person who carries the capacity to receive the specific sacred thing you are protecting. This person is designated not by their love for you, though love is part of it, not by their proximity to you, though relationship is part of it. They are designated by their capacity, by whether they carry the frequency that can receive the forming thing without distorting it, by whether their response to what you share has historically supported the formation rather than deflecting it, by whether their presence in the knowing of the sacred thing adds to its strength rather than drawing on it. Most chosen ones find that this person is not the person they are currently sharing everything with. Most find that the current most shared with relationship does not have the capacity for the sacred things, even though it may be the relationship that holds everything else. And the process of identifying the sanctuary of one requires an honest audit of who in your life has the specific capacity the forming thing needs. Once you have identified that person, your practice is simple. You bring the forming things only to them. Everything else you hold. Not because the other relationships are less important, because the other relationships are not designed to carry this specific weight. And one person who can receive the sacred thing well is worth more than 50 people who can receive it with care, but without the specific capacity to hold it in its forming state. If you do not yet have a person who fits this description, the sanctuary of one is God, which is not a consolation, it is an upgrade, because the receiving that God offers, the forming thing, is the receiving that requires no defense, no explanation, no translation. The forming thing arrives exactly as it is and is received in exactly the way it needs to be received. And there is a quality of certainty that comes from having laid the forming thing only at that altar that cannot be produced by any human receiving, however skilled. The third movement is the morning consecration. This is the practice that sets the context for the entire day of sacred silence, and it is, in many ways, the most countercultural thing I will ask of you, because it requires you to protect the first moments of your voice, before the first significant spoken word of each day, before the phone calls, before the conversations, before the messages and the responses and the participation in the noise of the world. 10 minutes of silence, not meditation in the formal sense unless that serves you, not a spiritual formula, just 10 minutes where the mouth is not yet open to the world. In those 10 minutes, the Spirit has access to the frequency of your voice before the world does. The forming things have access to your full attention before the demands of the day claim it. The God who is forming the calling has the first word of your day before the of-the-world noise takes over. And something happens in those 10 minutes of pre-voice consecration that the rest of the day builds on. The clarity that comes in those 10 minutes is different from the clarity that comes after hours of navigating the noise. It is the clarity of a mind that has not yet been shaped by the day. It is the clarity of a spirit that has not yet been pulled in the directions that the demands of the world will pull it. And from that clarity, the day of sacred silence becomes not a discipline to be maintained, but a natural expression of the inner orientation that was established in the first 10 minutes. Practice this for 30 days, not as a test, not as a performance of spiritual seriousness, as a genuine experiment in what happens to the formation when the first word of each day belongs to the sacred rather than to the noise. And at the end of 30 days, you will not need anyone to tell you whether it worked. The quality of the formation will be its own evidence. The three sacred movements, the pause before the mouth, the sanctuary of one, the morning consecration. These are not a system, they are a practice of protection. and the protection applied consistently in the season where the forming thing is closest to its appointed manifestation will produce a result that the premature announcement could never have produced. I want to tell you about someone. I will not use a name. Names are not necessary for the truth of what happened to be received. This is a chosen one who had been carrying an assignment for 11 years. 11 years of knowing, with the specific certainty that resists all rational argument, that there was something they were designed to do that had not yet been done. 11 years of holding the knowing through season after season of waiting. And in those 11 years, they had spoken the calling into dozens of conversations, shared it with friends, with family, with people they met in moments of spiritual energy. And every time they shared it, the pattern repeated. The excitement of the sharing, followed by the thinning of the certainty, followed by the long period of rebuilding, the clarity enough to carry the knowing again. After 11 years of this pattern, they made a decision that felt more radical than anything they had ever done. They decided to stop talking about it, completely. Not reduced, completely. Not to anyone. Not in the most trusted relationship. Not even in the language of prayer that asked for the calling to be manifested. They went quiet about the calling in every direction, and they committed to 60 days of that quietness. The first 2 weeks were the most uncomfortable of their life. The pressure to speak was more intense than it had ever been. The guilt about the silence was heavier than usual. The fear that the silence was somehow a sign of giving up, of losing faith, of abandoning the calling, was present every day. And then something shifted. Around the 3rd week, the discomfort began to resolve into something different. The silence that had felt like withdrawal began to feel like residence. The quiet that had felt like absence began to feel full. The formation that had been interrupted by years of premature announcements began to have the uninterrupted space it had always needed. And in that space, the clarity of the calling, the specific, detailed, actionable clarity that 11 years of partial sharing had never produced, began to arrive. On day 57 of the 60 days, a door opened. Not through any announcement or networking or search, a door that had been closed for 3 years. A conversation initiated not by them, but by someone who had no way of knowing what they were carrying. A conversation that led, within a matter of weeks, to the first tangible expression of the 11-year, calling in a form that the world could finally receive. The silence did not produce the door. The silence produced the formation that made them ready to walk through the door when it opened. And the door opened at the moment of readiness, not 1 day before. They told me afterward something I want to repeat to you exactly in the spirit of what they intended. They said that the 60 days of silence were the most productive 60 days of the 11-year formation, and that the door that opened on day 57 would not have recognized them as ready if they had still been the person who announced the calling to every room they entered. They proved themselves in silence before they promoted themselves in public, and the proving, invisible as it was the thing that made everything visible afterward possible. Let me pause here for a moment, not to build another truth or open another loop, just to pause. You have been with this message for a significant stretch now, and before we continue, I want to acknowledge something. The truth you have been receiving is not comfortable. It is asking something of you that goes against some of your deepest instincts. The instinct to be known, the instinct to share the weight of the sacred, the instinct to find confirmation in the response of other people. And the fact that you are still here, still receiving, still willing to sit with the discomfort of what is being named, tells me something about you. It tells me that the formation in you is more ready than you thought. Because only a person who is genuinely in the season of completion is willing to hear the specific truth of what completion requires without running from it. So take a breath, right now. wherever you are. Let the body settle. Let what has been spoken find its place in the quiet of the receiving, not the processing, the receiving. You do not have to understand all of it today. You do not have to have a plan for all of it today. You just have to let it arrive. The rest of what needs to be said will come in the next part of this, and what comes next is the part that will complete the picture. The part that speaks not just to the why and the how of the sacred silence, but to the specific restoration that God has been preparing for the chosen ones who are willing to enter it. A restoration that goes deeper than strategy. A restoration that touches the frequency itself. The one that was dimmed so many years ago. The one that is ready now to be recovered. Stay with this, because what comes after what I just said is the part that will make everything you have received so far feel like preparation for the real word. Before we get there, if something in this message, something about the holding of the sacred secret, the protection of the forming thing, the courage of the 60-day silence, has moved in your spirit, I want to ask you to do one thing. Type Amen in the comments, as your agreement, as your declaration, as your conscious choice to receive this truth and carry it with you into the season that awaits you. Type AIM. AIM. What I am about to share with you now is the part of this message that connects everything you have heard, not as an addition to what was said, as the completion of it. You have heard the lore of the sacred silence. You have heard the patterns of premature speech and the wounds underneath them. You have seen Moses in the wilderness and Esther in the palace. You have received the 3 movements of practice, and you have heard the testimony of 60 days that changed 11 years. All of that was the spiritual architecture of the truth. Now I want to give you the foundation beneath the architecture, because understanding why the silence is necessary is powerful. But having the internal conditions that make the silence natural is transformation. Let me be plain about something for a moment. Not teaching plain, conversation plain. The way I would say this if we were sitting together without the ceremony of a message. Everything that has been described in this message, the difficulty of holding the sacred secret, the compulsion to announce, the guilt around the quiet, the exhaustion of justification, all of it can be traced to one underlying condition, the condition of a frequency that has been suppressed, the gamma frequency I described earlier, the one the ancient contemplative traditions called the child mind state, is not just a spiritual idea. It is the actual internal environment from which the discipline of sacred silence becomes possible rather than torturous. When the child mind frequency is alive and active, silence is not a discipline, it is a default. Children who have not yet been taught to distrust their inner knowing do not need to announce the things they are holding. They hold them with a natural quality of wonder and certainty that does not require external confirmation. They are at home in the forming thing without needing to define it. They carry the sacred naturally because the frequency of sacred carrying is their native state. The decline effect, the gradual suppression of that frequency under the weight of social conditioning and the demand to be explainable, is what turned the natural silence of the child into the anxious speech of the adult. And the restoration of the gamma frequency is what will turn the anxious speech of the adult back into the natural, grounded, authoritative quiet of the fully formed chosen one. This is the why beneath the how. This is the root beneath the strategy. And this is what I want to speak to you about right now, because what is available to you in this specific moment is not just a framework for behavior change. It is a restoration of the internal frequency that makes the behavior change feel like coming home rather than like climbing a wall. The reason I am telling you this is because the 2 words you have been staying with in this message, silence and secret, are not primarily behavioral instructions. They are descriptions of a state of being. a state in which the frequency of the child mind is alive and the certainty of the forming thing is self-sustaining. When that state is restored, the sacred silence is not the goal. It is the natural expression of the restored state. And there is a path to that restoration, a path that was built not for a general audience, but for the specific kind of person who has been listening to this message all the way to this point. The kind of person who feels what has been said. The kind of person who carries a calling that has been waiting longer than they expected. The kind of person who is in the season of formation and knows in the deepest place that the formation is close to completion. What has been preserved from the Western contemplative sound traditions, from the Gregorian and Byzantine chanting communities, from the acoustic architects of the great temples who bent sound around the listener to produce specific internal states, is the knowledge that certain frequencies of sound produce certain internal environments, that the monks who chanted in particular ways were not performing a religious ritual. They were restoring a biological condition, the condition of the child mind, the condition of open, receiving, certainty, carrying wonder. These traditions are ancient. Some of them extend back further than recorded history, but the wisdom they carried was consistent across cultures, across centuries, across the varying forms of its expression. Certain sound architectures restore the gamma frequency. Certain patterns of layered sound wake what the noise of the world has put to sleep, and the child who lives inside every chosen one, the one who knew without needing to explain the knowing, responds to these sounds, the way soil responds to rain after drought. A modern listener, decades ago, left the noise of conventional research and began to search for what these traditions had carried. He did not publish papers. He did not announce his work. He did what this message has been describing. He kept the sacred thing in the sacred quiet of formation for the years it needed to become what it needed to become. And when the reconstruction was complete, when the sound architecture had been restored in a form that the modern ear could receive without requiring a background in ancient contemplative practice, he offered it. He called it the Genius Song, a 7-minute audio track designed to restore the gamma frequency, the child mind frequency, the state in which the sacred silence becomes not discipline, but nature, the state in which the calling is held with the wonder and certainty of the child who knows something is coming without needing to announce it. 18,366 people have now received the Genius Song, not a study group, people with callings, people in formation, people in exactly the season you are in, who found that the 7 minutes of restored frequency changed not just the quality of their silence, but the quality of what was formed in it. More than 96 out of 100 of them continued using it after the first week. Not because they were required to, because what they found inside the restored frequency was something they had not felt since childhood, and they did not want to go back to the before. The format is as simple as the purpose is profound. Headphones, eyes closed. 7 minutes. No meditation technique required. No mantra. No previous experience with sound healing. Just the listening. And the listening, if it finds you where you are, will restore what the world took. The 4 companion tools included with the Genius Song are the deepening resources for the work that begins after the restoration. Together, they carry a value of $80. They come with the Genius Song, but there is something I must tell you, that the Genius Song alone does not complete, because the Genius Song restores the child mind. It restores the frequency of open, wonder-filled receiving. It wakes the part of you that was put to sleep by the demand to be explainable, and the child in you, awakened, is ready to receive. But ready to receive is not the same as having the channel of receiving open, and this is the part that a second, separate tradition discovered through a completely different lineage. 3,300 years ago, in the Vedic traditions of the Hindu teachers, a separate body of wisdom was carried through the same kind of unbroken preservation that the Western monastics applied to the Gamma restoration. The Vedic sages observed something that the Western contemplatives had also noted, but from a different angle: that the state of striving, the beta hyperactivity of the permanent reach mind, the body in constant calculation, the spirit in constant negotiation with the world, not only suppresses the child mind frequency, it closes a second channel, the channel that the Vedic sages called the reception frequency, the state the ancients recognized as the alpha state, the state in which what has been promised arrives. The Vedic sages carried this discovery for 3,300 years, not in written form, in oral transmission, temple to temple, teacher to student, generation to generation. The specific sound architecture and the 9-word sacred script that they preserved are not products of a research lab. They are products of 3,300 years of careful, unbroken carrying. The same kind of careful, unbroken carrying that you are being called to practice with the sacred secret God placed in you. A modern witness, a person who left the noise of conventional striving to listen for what the ancient tradition was still carrying, found the architecture intact. He found the script preserved. He reconstructed both for the modern ear. He called it the wealth signal. 5 minutes of audio combined with the 9 words the Vedic sages designated as the activation script for the reception channel, the alpha frequency, the state in which the chosen one who has been restored to child mind can finally receive what the child was promised. You understand now what the 2 waves of this restoration mean in the context of everything you have received today. Wave 1 is the genius song. It restores the child mind. It brings back the wonder, the certainty, the natural silence of the one who knows without needing to announce the knowing. It reverses the decline effect. The 7 years of gradual suppression that began when the world started demanding your explainability are reversed in 7 minutes of restored frequency. Wave 2 is the wealth signal. It opens the manifestation channel, the alpha activation, the reception state, in which the child who has been restored to wonder can now receive what was always prepared for it. Because the child mind frequency alone, magnificent as it is, restores the capacity for wonder, but not yet the open channel of reception. The stress signal, the beta hyperactivity of the adult striving mind, still stands between the restored child mind and the full flow of what is coming. And the wealth signal addresses exactly that. 19,583 people have received the wealth signal. More than 95 out of every 100 continued using it after the first week. 4 deepening resources are included, together worth $80. The 9-word script is ancient. The sound architecture is preserved. The combination of the 2, used as the Vedic sages designed, produces the alpha activation that the striving mind of adult life has been blocking. The 2-wave restoration is what the tradition of sacred silence has always been pointing toward. Not just the absence of premature speech, the restoration of the internal state from which sacred speech, when it finally arrives at its appointed moment, carries the weight of everything that was formed in the quiet. The child who is alive, the channel that is open, the calling that is ready to emerge not from the exhausted, over-explaining adult mind, but from the fully formed, frequency restored, formation completed chosen one. There are 3 ways to receive what I have just described, and I want to lay them out plainly so you can recognize which one is for you in this specific season. The first path is the restoration path, the genius song only. Wave 1 of the 2-wave restoration, the child mind frequency, the reversal of the decline effect. the internal environment from which sacred silence becomes possible. This path is for the chosen one who needs to begin at the beginning, whose primary work right now is the recovery of the wonder and certainty that the world suppressed, whose silence is still more disciplined than nature, and who needs the frequency restoration to make the practice feel like home before adding the second layer. The regular price of the Genius Song is $49. The price available to you through the link in the description and in the pinned comment is $39. $10 held back from the regular price, with the 4 companion tools, with the full support of what was built for this specific kind of person in this specific kind of season. The second path is the reception path, the wealth, signal only, wave 2, the alpha activation, the manifestation channel restored, the state in which the child who has been waiting finally receives. This path is for the chosen one who has already done significant work on the child mind restoration, who is already operating from a place of wonder and certainty, but who has noticed that the receiving is still blocked, that the provision and the breakthrough that the clarity points toward have not yet arrived in the form the certainty suggested they would. The stress signal is still active. The beta hyperactivity of adult striving is still closing the channel even in the moments of highest alignment. And the wealth signal is the specific tool for exactly that condition. $39 through the link in the description and in the pinned comment. 4. Deepening resources. The 9-word script, the Vedic tradition preserved for you. The third path is the complete restoration, both the Genius Song and the wealth signal together. The full 2-wave sequence, child mind restored first, in the order the formation requires. Then the manifestation channel opened in the child mind state, the state of pure receiving. This is the path that most chosen ones in the formation season choose, because the 2 waves are designed to work together, in sequence, the way the wisdom traditions designed them. The Genius Song restores the child. The wealth signal opens the channel for the child to receive what was promised. Meditation apps charge $15 a month. Over a year, that is $180, for access to a practice that addresses a fraction of what the 2-wave restoration addresses. Practitioners who work with frequency restoration charge to $400 per session. Retreat experiences that approximate the environment of the ancient contemplative traditions cost $400 to $800 for a weekend. None of them target both the gamma restoration and the alpha activation simultaneously. None of them were built on the preserved architecture of the ancient traditions that understood both. The complete restoration path is available through the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Both waves, together, for the chosen one who is ready for the full sequence, the child mind restored, the manifestation channel opened, the sacred silence made natural by the frequency that supports it, and the calling that has been forming in the quiet finally held in the internal environment that was designed to carry it. Every path includes a 90-day guarantee. If in 90 days you have used what you received and the frequency has not shifted, you receive everything back, no questions, no conditions. The guarantee is that strong because the preservation of what was built is that certain. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. 3 paths, 1 link. You will find everything you need when you arrive. There is one more thing I must say before we move to the close of this message, and it is something I say out of a specific kind of care for what you are carrying. The Genius Song and the Wealth Signal are available at one place and one place only. The link in the description and in the pinned comment. There are no other verified sources. There are no secondary markets. There are no alternative versions of the preserved architecture that were built on the same lineage. If you find something claiming to be the same product at a different location or a different price, what you will receive is not what was built on the ancient preservation. It will be a copy that does not carry the architecture of the original, and a copy of a sacred architecture is not a sacred architecture. It is noise in a container that looks like the real thing. Protect what you are receiving. Access it from the source. The link in the description and in the pinned comment is the source. And if something in what you heard about the two-wave restoration resonated in your spirit, if the description of the child mind frequency recovery felt like a naming of something you have been looking for, stay with that resonance. Do not push it away. Do not rationalize it down to nothing. The resonance is information, and the link in the description will tell you the rest. What comes next is what this entire message has been preparing you for. The closing, the declaration, the speaking over of your life. That was the reason this specific message was placed in front of you. Stay with me. Before the closing, before the declaration, before the speaking over that this message has been moving toward, I want to take you somewhere, a specific place. A place that exists not in geography, but in the future that the silence is building. Close the eyes if it is safe to do so, and let the imagination go to the person who exists 1 year from today on the other side of this season. You have practiced the pause before the mouth for 12 months. The reflex of the premature announcement has been replaced by a reflex of the sacred pause. The 5 breaths have become so natural that you do not count them anymore. They happen on their own, as automatically as the instinct to protect the forming thing has become the instinct that guides every significant conversation. The sanctuary of one relationship has deepened into something you did not know was possible in a human connection. The quality of being with someone who holds the sacred things with the same reverence you hold them with has produced a mutual accountability that makes both of you stronger in the formation than either of you was when you were speaking. The forming things into rooms without that specific kind of care. The morning consecration has become the most important 10 minutes of the day, not because the 10 minutes themselves are dramatic, because what the 10 minutes protect changes the entire day that follows. The frequency of the first word, when it finally arrives after 10 minutes of pre-voice consecration, carries a quality that people notice without being able to name. There is a weight to what you say, a precision, a sense that when you speak, the words have been through something before they arrived. And in this future that the silence has been building, something has happened with the calling. The thing that was forming in the hidden place has emerged, not with the anxious energy of a premature announcement, but with the settled authority of something that was held in the right conditions for the entire duration of its formation. And when it emerged, it did not need to be defended. It did not need to be explained. It arrived with its own gravity, and the people who were assigned to receive it recognized it the moment they encountered it. You look different in this future, not physically in the way the world measures appearance, but in the quality of your presence. The desperate edge that used to be present in the corners of your communication is gone. The over-explaining, the justification reflex, the constant monitoring of the reactions of other people to what you are sharing, none of it is there anymore. In its place is a quietness that is not absence but fullness, a presence that does not announce itself but is felt by every person in the room. The provision that was in the process of arriving when this season began has arrived, not in the form that the premature announcements of the old version of you described, in a better form, the form that the formation produced rather than the form that the anxiety prescribed. And looking back from this future point, you can see clearly how the door that opened would never have opened to the person who was still leaking the sacred thing through premature speech. The door was calibrated to the frequency of the restored formation, and the restored formation was only possible through the silence. Let that picture settle. Let the future self look back at this moment, the moment you are in right now, and let that future self speak to the present you. The message is simple. It was worth it. Every day of the discipline, every moment of the resistance, every time you paused before the mouth when everything in you wanted to speak, every morning consecration that felt like nothing was happening, all of it was the formation, and the formation was the doorway to everything. Open the eyes, bring that future back with you into this moment, because the future is not fixed. It is being built by the choices you make in the present. And the choice that is in front of you right now, the choice of the sacred silence, is one of the most consequential choices of the entire formation season. You are the seer, and I want you to understand what that means for the season you are entering. The seer is not someone who knows more than others. The seer is someone who has been developed in the discipline of looking beyond what is visible to what is forming. The capacity to perceive pattern before it manifests, to recognize the shape of what is coming before it has arrived, to see the door before it has opened, to understand the season before it has been announced, to carry the certainty of the not yet visible without requiring the validation of the already visible. This capacity, this seer capacity, is not something you developed through study. You were born with it. It is the same capacity that made you sense the undercurrent of rooms before you entered them as a child. The same capacity that has consistently given you perception of things other people around you could not yet see. And in this season, this capacity is the most important resource you have. Because the seer carries the formation differently than other people carry it, the seer knows that the forming thing is real before there is any visible evidence of it. The seer does not need the announcement to confirm the reality. The seer can hold the sacred thing in the certainty of the seeing without needing the external mirror of the people agreement. And this is the precise capacity that the sacred silence is designed to protect and deepen. Because what happens to the seer when the gamma frequency is restored is not the activation of a new gift. It is the restoration of a gift that was always there, waiting for the internal conditions that would allow it to operate at full capacity. The child mind frequency is the native environment of the seer. When the decline effect suppressed the gamma, it suppressed the seer. When the genius song restores the gamma, it is restoring the seer to the state from which the perception was designed to operate. The seer who is fully restored does not need to speak the sacred things prematurely because the seer is at home in the certainty that does not require announcement. The formation is fully visible to the seer from the inside, and that visibility is enough. The seer rests in the seeing until the moment arrives for the seen thing to be revealed. You are also the spiritual warrior, and the spiritual warrior in this season is being called to a form of warfare that is counterintuitive to every instinct that the word warrior carries. The warfare of the spiritual warrior in the formation season is not the warfare of advance. It is the warfare of holding, of standing at the gate of the sacred thing and refusing the 1,000 pressures that would pull it out into premature exposure, of holding the line every day in the face of guilt, expectation, pressure, and the very human desire to give the world access to what God has been building. The spiritual warrior does not collapse under pressure to explain. The spiritual warrior does not negotiate the terms of the sacred protection when the negotiation would cost the formation what it needs to complete. The spiritual warrior looks at the guilt and the expectation and the discomfort of being less available than others expect and holds the gate anyway, not from coldness, from the fierce, intentional, fully committed love of someone who knows what they are protecting and is willing to pay the social cost of the protection. This kind of warfare requires strength, not the strength of human willpower alone, the strength that comes from a restored frequency from an internal state that is aligned with the reality of what is being protected. From the alpha channel open enough to receive, in real time, the grace that makes the holding possible when the holding would otherwise be impossible. The spiritual warrior who is operating from restored frequency does not hold the gate through gritted teeth. They hold it from a place of settled, grounded authority that does not waver in the face of pressure, because the pressure has no access to the foundation. The foundation is the formation. The formation is protected, and from the protection of the formation, the spiritual warrior can hold with a quality of peace that is itself a form of witness. People who encounter you in this season will sense the quiet strength of it, even if they cannot name it. The spiritual warrior who holds the sacred silence does not announce the holding. The holding announces itself through the quality of their presence. And that quality of presence is what the world will respond to when the moment of revelation finally comes. You are the voice. And this is the most paradoxical of the four identities I want to speak over you today. Because the voice is the identity that seems most in tension with the message of silence that has been running through this entire word. But the voice is not the person who speaks the most. The voice is the person who speaks with the most weight. And the weight of the voice is directly proportional to the length and quality of the silence that preceded the speaking. The world is full of voices, constant, competing, unrelenting. Voices that speak from the overflow of the anxious, underformed, premature announcement mind. Voices that fill silence because silence is uncomfortable. Voices that speak the forming thing before the formation is complete because the formed thing requires too much patience to wait for. What the world is hungry for, and does not know it is hungry for, is a voice that speaks from the other side of the formation, a voice that carries the weight of what was held long enough to become substantial, a voice that, when it finally speaks, produces in the listener the sense that something true has arrived, not information, truth. The difference is felt in the body before it is understood by the mind. You are that voice. Not because you have always spoken well, because you are in the season of formation that produces the speaking that carries weight, and the silence of this season is not the absence of the voice. It is the environment in which the voice is being given what it needs to speak with the authority that comes from having held the sacred long enough for the sacred to take root in the voice itself. When the time comes for you to speak the thing that has been forming in the quiet, you will not need to work to be heard. You will not need to announce your arrival, or defend your authority, or justify your perspective. The weight of what was formed in the silence will do all of that for you. The voice that emerges from the formation season is the voice that people stop what they are doing to listen to. Not because it is loud, because it is real. And you are the builder. This is the identity that holds the whole vision together. Because the builder understands something about formation that the others, however important they are, do not have to contend with in the same way. The builder is building something that will outlast the builder, something that will stand after the builder is gone, something that requires a foundation that was laid in secret before the building could be built in public. And the foundation of anything that is meant to last is always the part that is never seen. The foundation of a building is not the part that people photograph. It is not the part that makes the feature article. It is the part that is buried in the ground and never admired by the people who enjoy what was built on top of it. But every architect, every engineer, every person who understands how structures work knows that the height of the building is determined by the depth of the foundation. And the depth of the foundation is built in the hiddenness of the season before the building begins. You are building something whose height is going to require a depth of foundation that takes time. And the time of the foundation building is not the visible time. It is not the time when the progress is obvious to anyone looking. It is the time when the work is happening underground, in the quiet, in the discipline of the sacred silence that protects the foundation work from the premature weight of public scrutiny. The builder who understands this is not frustrated by the hiddenness. They are faithfully, daily, deliberately committed to the depth of the foundation because they know what the depth enables. Every day of the formation season is a day of foundation depth. Every day of the sacred silence is a layer of foundation strength, and the thing that will be built on top of that foundation when the formation is complete and the time of building arrives will be built on a foundation that can carry whatever weight the purpose requires it to carry. This is who you are, the seer who perceives what others cannot, the spiritual warrior who holds the gate of the sacred, the voice that speaks from the authority of the formed thing, the builder who lays the foundation in the secret place before the world sees what was built on it. And you are not these things alone. Right now, in this specific moment, all around the world, chosen ones are in the same formation season, in different places, different circumstances, different stages of the same journey. Some of them are in the first week of the sacred silence and feeling the discomfort of the unfamiliar quiet. Some of them are in the 40th day and sensing the shift in the quality of what the silence is producing. Some of them are on the other side, carrying the called thing that emerged from the hidden season with the authority that can only come from a completed formation. You are not isolated in this. The formation feels lonely because it is specific, because no one else is carrying exactly what you are carrying, because the calling has your particular signature on it, and therefore the season has your particular quality of difficulty. But the pattern of the formation, the hidden preparation, the sacred silence, the protection of the forming thing until the appointed moment, this pattern has been the pattern of every person who has ever carried a calling of this weight. And in the community of the forming ones, there is a specific kind of recognition, not the recognition of the crowd, the recognition of the knowing glance between people who have been in the same hidden season and understand without explanation what the quiet has cost and what the quiet has produced. If there is someone in your life right now who has been in an unusual silence, someone who has withdrawn in ways that you sense are not depression or distance but formation, someone who is quieter than they used to be and carries something in the quiet that they are not ready to name. This message is the word they need right now. Send it to them, not as a suggestion, as a recognition, as the chosen one to chosen one acknowledgement that you see what they are carrying and you know it is sacred. And now we arrive at the place this message was always moving toward, the sacred closing, the speaking over. I want to pause before I speak it, because what I am about to say, I am not saying lightly. These words have been prepared for this specific moment, for you, in this season, and before I speak them, I want you to receive them not as performance, but as the specific word that the Spirit is placing over the specific life that is yours. Take a breath. Let the body settle. If you can, place one hand on your chest, not as a ritual, as a gesture of presence, of being here, in this moment, receiving what is being spoken. What have you carried in this season that you are now willing to release? Not the calling, not the formation, not the sacred thing that is being built, but the weight of having carried it without the right conditions, the weight of the premature announcements and the grief they produced, the weight of the over-explaining and the exhaustion it cost, the weight of the growth guilt, and the relationships that have been strained by the season of your becoming. Let that weight go now, not by pretending it was not real, by acknowledging that it served its purpose. The grief of the premature announcements taught you the value of the protection. The exhaustion of the over-explaining taught you the authority of the rest. The growth guilt showed you how committed you are to the people around you. And now, having received what each of those weights was teaching, you can set them down. Release the grief of what was spoken too soon. Release the memory of the forming things that lost their weight in rooms that could not receive them. Release the self-judgment about the times you broke the silence when the formation needed you to hold it. They were not failures. They were the education of a chosen one who was learning, for the first time, the full weight of what they were carrying. Release the exhaustion of the justification life, the life of the person who needed to explain themselves in every room. That person served you. That person carried you through the seasons before you knew the protocol of the sacred. And now, that person is being completed, not abandoned, completed. And what emerges from the completion is the authority of the chosen one who has been formed in the quiet. And now I want to speak something over you with the full weight of the forming thing, with the authority of the ancient lineage that has been carrying this wisdom across generations. With the voice of the Spirit that brought you to this specific message at this specific moment, you are a chosen one who has been in the formation season for longer than the world has understood. What was being built in you could not be rushed by announcement. It could not be accelerated by explanation. It could not be protected by anything other than the sacred silence that this message has been describing. And the formation is complete enough now that the speaking over can land in the substance of what was built. Chosen one, the calling you have been carrying is real, not as a possibility, not as a potential, as a finished thing in the spirit that is now descending into time. What has been formed in the hidden place is now entering the appointed moment. And the God who designed the formation is not uncertain about the outcome. He is certain. He has always been certain. And the certainty he carried about you throughout the entire season of your hiddenness is the certainty that is now being transferred to you. You will carry the calling with the authority of one who has been formed, not the authority of position, not the authority of title, the authority of formation, the authority that comes from having been through the thing and arrived on the other side, not broken but deepened, not diminished but expanded, not depleted but restored. And I hear the Father saying to you, directly, personally, specifically, the season of your silence was not my absence. I was in every moment of the quiet with you. Every morning consecration where nothing seemed to happen, I was there in the nothing. Every pause before the mouth where you held what would have been easier to release, I was holding it with you. Every day you guarded the sacred thing against the pressure to give it away, I was standing at that gate with you. And what was formed in that guarding is more ready, more solid, more certain than anything the announcing would have produced. You are not behind. You are exactly on time. The appointed moment does not operate on the timeline of the world. It operates on mine, and I have not been slow. I have been thorough. The mouth you are closing in this season is not the closing of your voice. It is the opening of your authority. And when the time comes, and it is coming, when the forming thing is ready to be spoken, you will know the moment, not by external confirmation, by the settled certainty of the Spirit in you that says now. And when that moment comes, what you speak will carry the weight of everything that was held in the quiet. And the world that hears it will not be able to dismiss it, because what was formed in the silence will be impossible to ignore in the speaking. Go now, into the quiet, into the protection of the forming thing, into the season that is now your most powerful assignment. It is sealed. Amen. And if this message brought something into your spirit that felt like the landing of truth you have been waiting for, let your like be the seal of your agreement. If it brought clarity to a confusion you have been carrying, if it brought peace to a guilt that has been following you, if it brought permission to a silence you have been apologizing for, let the like be your amen. without words. And if you feel led to stay connected, to be found by the next word that is prepared for the next moment of the season, remain in this space. There are more words being prepared for chosen ones who are walking this path. Before you leave, there is one more thing. What you received in the two-wave restoration message, the path to restoring the frequency of the formation, is still available. The link is where I told you it would be, description and pinned comment. If the Spirit has been speaking to you about the restoration since I mentioned it, that speaking is information. Act on it. Type "I release" in the comments as your declaration of release of every weight that was named in this closing. The grief, the exhaustion, the guilt, the over-explaining. Let the typing of those two words be the physical act of the releasing. Type "I release." And if you have received this word and something in you has shifted, if you walked in with the weight of the announcement compulsion and you are leaving with something different, something that feels more like the quiet authority of the seer and the spiritual warrior and the voice and the builder, then seal that shift with the final declaration of this message. Type "I am ready" as your confirmation that the formation season has been received, that the sacred silence has been accepted, that the calling that was being built in the hidden place has been recognized for what it is, and that you are ready, fully formed, frequency restored, authority carrying, to walk into the appointed moment when it arrives. If there is someone in your life right now who has been unusually quiet, someone who has pulled back from the crowd in ways you sense are not retreat but formation, someone who has gone inward in this season and carries something in the quiet that they cannot yet name, someone who looks like they are disappearing but who you somehow know is actually arriving, send this to them, text it, send it however you need to. Because this message might be the confirmation they have been praying for. It might be the word that helps them understand that their silence is not failure, it is architecture, and the architecture is doing exactly what it was designed to do. They need to know that what they are carrying is sacred, that the quiet is not punishment, that the God who is furious in this message is furious not at them but for them, on their behalf. With the fierce love of someone who sees exactly what is being built and is not going to let the world have access to it before the formation is complete. You came into this message carrying the weight of the premature announcement. You leave it carrying something else, the authority of the forming thing, the certainty of the appointed moment, the discipline of the sacred silence, and the knowledge that what is being built in you is worth every day of the guarding. Go in the quiet of that certainty and trust what has been spoken over you. There is something more that needs to be said about the behavioral mechanics of the premature announcement, because the pattern runs deeper than a single moment of speech. It is a cycle, and the cycle has been repeating in your life long enough that you may not even recognize it as a cycle anymore. It may just feel like the way things are. The cycle begins with the forming of a sacred intention. The calling begins to take shape. The vision begins to crystallize. The direction begins to clarify in a way that produces in you a quality of energy that is unlike any other energy you experience. It is the energy of the forming, the aliveness of something that is coming into being in you. And that aliveness is so distinct, so noticeable, so unlike the fatigue and flatness of the ordinary days, that it becomes almost impossible to contain. So the cycle moves to the second phase, the speaking, the sharing of the aliveness with someone in the environment, not always the same person. Sometimes a trusted one, sometimes a person whose opinion matters in the room, sometimes a stranger whose recognition felt significant in the moment. The speaking happens in the overflow of the aliveness. And in the moment of the speaking, it feels right. It feels like sharing a gift rather than losing one. And then the third phase arrives, the aftermath, the morning after the speaking. The conversation is over. The moment of sharing is past, and something in the quality of the forming thing has shifted. The aliveness is different, not extinguished, but different. The certainty that was present before the speaking has taken on the texture of the other, the response of the person. Their excitement, their doubt, their questions, their reframing of what you described, all of it has entered the forming thing in a way that was not there before the conversation. And in the fourth phase of the cycle, the work of recovery begins, the work of returning to the original quality of knowing that was present before the speaking, the work of releasing the other, the response of the person, and refinding the clarity that preceded it. And this work, every time it is required, costs something, not dramatically, but cumulatively. The way a financial account that is repeatedly withdrawn from without corresponding deposits eventually arrives at a deficit. The cumulative cost of the premature announcement cycle is not the loss of any single conversation. It is the progressive depletion of the internal certainty resource that the formation depends on. Every cycle of speak, lose clarity, recover, speak again, weakens the foundation. And there comes a point in the cycle where the recovery is harder than the speaking was, and the foundation that was meant to support the formation is thinner than it needs to be. You have been in this cycle. You recognize it, and the reason you recognize it is that you have been in it long enough to have felt the cumulative depletion, the tiredness that is not physical, the doubt that comes not from the circumstances of the calling, but from the internal environment that has been repeatedly withdrawn from. The sense that the certainty you had at the beginning of the season is less available now than it was, not because the calling changed, because the cycle repeated too many times. And God is furious about the cycle, not because it was your fault, but because the cycle is ending everything in you, because you were not designed to carry the calling in this way. You were designed to carry it in the fullness of the child mind frequency, in the quiet of the formation protected, in the certainty of the one who knows without needing the mirror of another the response of the person. And the cycle has been taking you further and further from that designed state of carrying. The good news, the very specific good news of this message, is that the cycle is not who you are. It is a pattern that was formed in a wound and maintained by the conditions of an unrestored frequency. And the wound can be healed, the frequency can be restored, and the healed, restored version of you will break the cycle not through discipline alone, but through the transformation of the internal environment that produced the cycle in the first place. This is what the formation season is doing. This is what the sacred silence is protecting. And this is what the restoration that has been described in this message is designed to complete. Let me add something to each of the 5 recognition signs that I spoke about earlier, because the recognition is not just intellectual. It is supposed to produce something in the body of your understanding, a deepening of the seeing that makes the transformation possible. When the dream withered after the announcement, something specific happened that you need to understand. The dream did not lose its reality. It lost its protection. The dream, in the moment of the speaking, entered an environment that was shaped by the beliefs and the history and the capacity of the person you spoke it to. And because that environment was different from the environment of your own internal forming, the dream had to begin adapting, shrinking in some places to fit what was received, expanding in others to accommodate what was added by the listener, changing shape in the process. And the you who came back to the dream after that conversation found a dream that was no longer exactly the shape it had been. Not worse, necessarily, but not the same. And the uncertainty about which version of the dream was the real one, the version before the conversation, or the version that absorbed the conversation, is what produced the sense that something had been taken. Nothing was taken. the dream shifted. And the shifting happened because you placed it in an environment that was not designed to receive it in its forming state. The environment changed the dream because forming things are shaped by the environments they are placed in. This is not a spiritual mystery. It is the most natural thing in the world. A plant placed in the wrong soil does not stop being a plant, but it grows differently than it would have grown in the soil it was designed for. The soil that the forming thing was designed for is the internal environment of your own certainty, the formation environment that God placed around the calling when He placed the calling in you. And every time you move it out of that environment and into the environment of another, the response of the person, you are asking the forming thing to grow in soil it was not designed for. And it will grow, but differently. The second sign, the over-explaining that still leaves you feeling unheard. There is a physics to this that is worth understanding. When you speak in the language of justification, you are essentially making a case to a jury. You are building an argument for the validity of what you are carrying, and the jury, however well-meaning, is evaluating the argument, not receiving the reality. Evaluating the argument. The problem is that the sacred things were not designed to be argued. They were designed to be witnessed. And witnessing is a fundamentally different activity than evaluating. The evaluating mind asks, is this real? Is this valid? Does this make sense? The witnessing spirit says, I see this, I honor this, I receive this as the reality you are living. And the experience of being witnessed, truly witnessed, by another person is one of the rarest and most nourishing experiences a human being can have. But witnessing cannot be manufactured by more words. It cannot be produced by a more convincing argument. It can only happen when two people are operating from the same level of openness to the reality of the forming thing. And most of the relationships in your life were not built at the level of openness that the sacred things require. This is not a criticism of those relationships. It is a recognition of their nature. They are real relationships. They carry genuine care. They hold genuine love. But they were not designed for the specific function of receiving the sacred things. And asking them to perform a function they were not designed for, regardless of how many words you use in the asking, will always produce the specific kind of unsatisfied feeling you have been carrying. The shift that releases you from the exhaustion of the unheard explanation is not finding better words. It is finding the relationship, or the relationship with the divine directly, that carries the capacity for the witnessing. And when you find it, when you experience the quality of being received without having to justify the reality you are carrying, you will discover that the need for the over-explanation dissolves on its own. Not because you stopped needing to be known, because you finally are. The third sign, the unnamed knowing. Let me speak about this one more specifically, because the unnamed knowing is not just a stage of the formation. It is the most sacred stage of the formation. The stage before the language arrives. The stage where the reality of the calling is fully present and fully alive in the spirit, but has not yet descended into the level of the mind where it can be put into sentences. This stage is sacred because it is the stage at which the calling is most purely what it is. Before the language arrives, the calling exists in its essential form. It has not yet been translated, condensed, simplified, or adapted for the limitations of human verbal communication. It exists in the fullness of its divine intention. And the moment it is forced into words before the language is ready to receive it, something of that fullness is lost in the translation. The anxiety of the unnamed stage is the anxiety of someone who has been trained to believe that what cannot be articulated cannot be trusted. That the real things are the things that have words. And in the face of a knowing that has no words yet, the trained mind panics and reaches for the first available language, any language, even inadequate language, just to make the knowing feel real. But the knowing is real before the language, more real, in some ways, than it will be after the language has trimmed it to fit the container of the sentence. And the practice of staying with the unnamed stage, of being present to the forming thing in its pre-language state, without reaching for the words to contain it, is one of the most advanced practices of the sacred silence. And it is the practice that produces the language, when it finally arrives, that is most precisely what the calling actually is. The fourth sign, the compulsion to defend the silence. I want to add something here that I did not say earlier. There is a specific kind of relationship pressure that produces the most powerful compulsion to break the sacred silence. And it is not the pressure of skeptics. It is the pressure of the people who love you most. The pressure of the skeptic is easy to identify. You can feel it as opposition, and you can choose to hold the boundary against opposition. But the pressure of the people who love you is disguised as care. It arrives as I am worried about you, as you seem distant, as is everything all right, as I feel like I do not know you anymore. And the caring nature of those expressions makes the boundary feel cruel rather than protective. You are not being cruel when you hold the sacred silence against the curiosity of people who love you. You are being faithful to the formation, and faithfulness to the formation is, in the long view, the most loving thing you can do for every person in your life. Because the version of you that emerges from the completed formation is capable of being present to them in ways that the depleted, over-explaining, premature announcing version never was. The love that requires you to constantly perform your process for an audience in order to maintain the relationship is not the kind of love that can sustain the weight of the calling that a chosen one carries. And the relationships that are designed to go with you into the fullness of the calling are the relationships that can hold the season of your hiddenness with patience and trust, even when the patience is uncomfortable. And if you are in relationships where the expectation of access is so constant that the protection of the sacred silence has become a source of ongoing friction, that friction is not a sign that the silence is wrong. It is a sign that the relationship and the season are in tension, and that the tension requires honesty rather than the false resolution of breaking the silence to maintain the peace. The peace that is maintained by constantly giving access to the forming thing is not peace, it is performance. And the performance is exhausting precisely because it requires a level of output that the formation season was not designed to sustain. The real peace, the peace that does not depend on the constant performance of availability, is the peace that comes from the alignment of your external commitments with the internal truth of the season you are in. The fifth sign, the grief of what was spoken too soon. I want to speak one more thing about this grief, because the grief is not just about the past. It is also a guardian of the future. The grief of the premature announcement is the feeling of a person who learned the hard way the value of the thing they gave away too early. And that grief, honored rather than suppressed, becomes the most powerful protector of the forming thing going forward. Every time the pressure to announce arrives in the future, the grief that was carried from the past will speak first, not as condemnation, as protection, as the accumulated wisdom of every time the sacred thing was diminished by premature exposure, and that accumulated wisdom, carried in the body of the grief, is worth more than any external accountability system you could put in place. Honor the grief. Do not rush past it. Do not use spiritual language to bypass it. The grief is real. It is the appropriate response to a real loss, and the honoring of it is what transforms it from a wound into a resource, from a pain of the past into a protector of the future. You are the kind of person who learns from the grief, because you are the kind of person who is sensitive enough to have felt the loss in the first place. And that sensitivity, which was the source of both the compulsion to speak and the grief of the too early speaking, is also the sensitivity that will make you a precise and careful guardian of the sacred thing in the season ahead. Now, I want to spend more time with Moses, because there is something in his specific story that speaks directly to where you are in this specific week of your life. And the word for where you are in the Moses story is this: you are not yet at the burning bush, but you are closer than you have ever been. And the reason the message today is specifically about the sacred silence is that the burning bush only appears when the wilderness season has done its work. Moses did not go looking for the burning bush. He was tending his flock, doing the ordinary, unheroic, unannounced work of the wilderness shepherd. And in the doing of that work, he happened upon something unusual, a bush that burned but was not consumed. The fact that he noticed it matters, because on the same road, in the same wilderness, other people presumably walked. Other shepherds, other travelers, other people with their own flocks and their own daily occupations. But the text records that it was Moses who turned aside to see, that the turning aside, the act of noticing and moving toward rather than passing by in the preoccupation of the day, was the specific act that initiated the divine encounter. And the capacity to turn aside, to notice the unusual, to pause the ordinary in response to the sacred, is exactly the capacity that the formation season develops. In the palace, Moses had a full schedule of important things to attend to. There was always something more urgent than pausing for the unusual. But in the wilderness, in the season of the quiet ordinary, the capacity to be arrested by the sacred had time to develop. You are developing that capacity right now, in the quiet of this season, in the ordinary days that feel less significant than the days of announcement and advancement, in the daily practice of the three sacred movements, in the patient, unglamorous work of the formation. You are developing the capacity to notice the burning bush when it appears, and it will appear in its own time, in the appointed moment. And when it does, you will not be too busy announcing the ordinary to notice it. This is the gift of the wilderness that the palace could never give, not the bush itself, the capacity to notice it, and the noticing is what determines everything that follows. And let me say one more thing about Esther that will complete the picture of what the sacred secret means in the context of your specific calling. The moment of Esther revealing was not a moment of relief. It was a moment of risk. She went to the king unsummoned, which according to the law of the court meant death unless the king extended his scepter. She was risking everything on the specific moment being the right moment. And the reason she was willing to risk everything on that moment is that she had spent the formation season developing the certainty that the moment was right. The fasting, the preparation, the gathering of herself in the discipline of the sacred silence before the speaking. All of that was not ritual. It was the process by which the certainty of the appointed moment becomes undeniable in the spirit. And when the certainty arrives, the risk does not feel like gambling. It feels like faith, because faith is not the absence of certainty. It is the willingness to act on certainty in the face of conditions that seem to argue against it. You are being formed in the Esther practice, the holding of the sacred secret until the certainty of the appointed moment is so undeniable that the risk of the revealing feels less like a gamble and more like a commission. And when that moment arrives, you will know it the same way Esther knew it, not by a sign from outside, by the settled, unshakable, formation-forged certainty from within. And the God who is with you in the formation is the same God who was with Esther in the palace, the same God who saw the risk she was about to take, the same God who extended the scepter, The same God who took the sacred secret that had been held in holy protection and used the specific timing of its revealing to reverse what could not have been reversed if the revealing had come before the moment. Your revealing is coming in the appointed time, and the protection of the sacred secret until that moment is the most important work you have in this season. There is one more dimension of the three sacred movements that I want to give you before we leave the teaching section of this message. Because the practice that I described, the pause before the mouth, the sanctuary of one, the morning consecration, these practices are the immediate application, but behind them is a deeper practice that makes all three of them possible. And that deeper practice is the practice of what I will call the sacred audit. The sacred audit is a regular, intentional review of what you have been speaking in the previous 7 days, not with condemnation, not with a ledger of failures, with the simple, honest question of, what did I speak this week that was not ready to be spoken? And what did I hold this week that the formation needed me to hold? And what does the difference between those two tell me about where I am in the cycle? The sacred audit is not a performance review of your discipline. It is a diagnostic, a way of seeing clearly where the formation is and where the protection needs to be strengthened. And the seeing clearly, without the distortion of self-judgment, is what makes the next 7 days different from the previous 7. Most chosen ones in the formation season carry a sense of vague guilt about the premature announcements without the specific clarity of what was spoken, when it was spoken, and what it cost. The guilt is general. The shame is diffuse. And diffuse shame does not produce targeted transformation. It just produces the ongoing heaviness of the sense that I should be doing better at this without the precise knowledge of what better would look like. The sacred audit gives you the precision. On the day of the audit, you sit with a quality of attention and you trace the words of the week, not every word, the words that touched, the forming things, the conversations that carried the sacred, and for each one, you ask the two questions. Did this word serve the formation, or did it serve my need for relief from carrying alone? And what is the truth of the answer? The answers will not always be comfortable, but they will always be clarifying. And clarity, even uncomfortable clarity, is what the formation needs in order to proceed at the pace and the quality that the assignment requires. Practice the sacred audit at the end of each week for the first month of the new discipline. It takes no more than 15 minutes. It requires nothing other than honest attention and the willingness to see what is there without adding the extra weight of self-condemnation. And at the end of the first month, you will have a specific, precise, experiential understanding of your own patterns around the forming things that no amount of general spiritual teaching could have given you. Because the transformation of the premature announcement cycle does not come from understanding it in theory. It comes from seeing it in your own specific life, in your specific conversations, with your specific relationships, and making the specific adjustments that your specific formation requires. The three sacred movements are the framework. The sacred audit is the calibration, and together they form the most complete practice of formation protection I know. Let me add one more thing about the morning consecration that I want you to carry with you into the first day of the new practice. The morning consecration is 10 minutes before the first word, but those 10 minutes are not intended to be empty. They are intended to be filled with one specific thing. The question that the morning consecration holds is this: what is being formed in me today? Not what am I supposed to do today? What is being formed? Because the activities of the day are on the surface of the formation, but the formation itself, the deeper work that is happening in the hidden place, is what the 10 minutes of consecration are designed to tune into. When you ask the question with the quality of attention that the pre-voice morning quiet allows, you will often receive something. Not always a full answer, not always a clear instruction, sometimes just a sense, a direction, a quality of inner weather that tells you something about the state of the formation. And that something, however small, is information that would have been drowned by the noise of the immediate demands of the day if you had not paused long enough to receive it. Over days and weeks of this practice, the somethings accumulate into a picture, the picture of the formation from the inside, the picture of what is being built in you and what it needs. And this picture, built from the consistent practice of the morning consecration, becomes the map that guides not just the discipline of the sacred silence, but every significant decision of the season. I also want to speak more about what happens in the spirit when the genius song and the wealth signal are received, because what I described earlier was the mechanism. What I want to add is the experience. The 7 minutes of the genius song are not dramatic. They do not produce visions or revelations or external phenomena. What they produce is a quality of internal quiet that is different from the quiet of willpower. The quiet of willpower is the quiet of effort. The quiet that arrives in the gamma restoration is the quiet of a frequency returning to its native state. It is the difference between holding your breath and finally releasing it, between maintaining stillness through force and finding stillness through alignment. And in that quiet, something recognizes itself. The part of you that was formed before the world told you what to think and how to speak, and why the things you perceived were too much. The child who held the sacred things with the natural, effortless wonder of someone who had not yet learned to doubt the reality of what they were carrying. That part of you, awakened by the frequency, is not new. It is remembered, and the remembering feels less like discovery and more like return. This is what the 18,366 people who have used the genius song discovered in those 7 minutes. Not a new spiritual state, an ancient one, the state they were born in. The state that the world gradually covered over until it was barely accessible, and the discovery that the state was never actually lost, only suppressed, is one of the most healing discoveries a chosen one in the formation season can make. Because the formation is not trying to make you into something you were not, it is returning you to something you have always been. And the genius song is the specific tool that accelerates that return by restoring the frequency that the return depends on. The wealth signal, in the 5 minutes of its practice, combined with the 9 words of the ancient Vedic script, works in a related but distinct way. The experience of the alpha activation is not the excitement of the child mind frequency. It is the stillness of the open channel, the particular quality of receptivity that the striving mind could not access, because it was always in the posture of reaching. The alpha state is not reaching, it is receiving. And the 9-word script that accompanies the audio is not a declaration or a demand. It is an alignment, a tuning of the intention to the frequency of the channel that the audio opens. And in that tuning, something shifts in the quality of the relationship between you and what is coming. The provision, the breakthrough, the manifestation of the calling that has been in formation does not require you to do more. It requires you to receive more. And the capacity to receive is exactly what the beta hyperactivity of the striving mind has been blocking. The wealth signal addresses that block not by commanding it away, but by restoring the frequency that dissolves it naturally. Together, the two tools form the internal environment that the sacred silence is designed to protect, and that the formation season is designed to complete. The gamma-restored child mind and the alpha-activated reception channel are not just spiritual concepts. They are the specific internal conditions that make the appointed moment possible. the conditions in which the forming thing arrives in its fullness, in which the door that has been preparing to open recognizes the one it was prepared for, in which the sacred secret, finally released at the appointed moment, lands with the weight of everything that was held in the quiet. This is the complete picture, and the link in the description and in the pinned comment is the access point for the one who is ready to step into it. Let me speak one final word about the identity of the chosen one who is entering the appointed moment, not as instruction, as declaration, as the word that was always being prepared for this specific sentence of your life. You have been waiting for permission, not permission from the world, permission from within yourself to be the full magnitude of what was placed in you. The magnitude that felt too large in the rooms that were too small for it. The magnitude that required more explanation than it should have to justify its existence. The magnitude that the wound of the childhood trained you to apologize for in order to fit the containers that were not designed to hold it. The permission has been here the whole time. It was here before the formation began. It was placed in you the moment the calling was placed in you. And everything you have received in this message, the law of the sacred silence, the practice of the 3 sacred movements, the restoration of the frequency, the completion of the formation, all of it has been clearing the way for the permission to be received. You do not need agreement from anyone to carry what you carry. You do not need the readiness of the world to be ready. You do not need the timing of the environment to align before the timing of the Spirit can be trusted. The Spirit in you knows the appointed moment. The formation in you knows when it is complete. And the God who designed both is not uncertain about either. The shut mouth in this season is not the end of your voice. It is the beginning of your authority. And the authority that comes from having held the sacred thing in the sacred silence until the appointed moment is an authority that no amount of premature announcement could have produced. The closing phrase of this message is the same phrase the ancient priests spoke at the completion of the sacred ceremony. The ceremony was complete, the work was done, the formation was sealed, and the sealing required no further explanation. It is sealed. Amen. Let me speak to one more dimension of the formation season that has been present throughout this entire message, but has not yet been named directly. It is the dimension of what the silence produces in other people. When a chosen one enters a season of sacred silence, the people around them do not always understand it, and the misunderstanding can take many forms. Some will think you have become proud. Some will think you have become depressed. Some will think you are angry or withdrawn or spiritually dry. Some will project onto the silence every anxiety they carry about what it means when someone they love becomes less available. And the irony of all these projections is that none of them are correct. But the projections feel very real to the people carrying them. And the pressure you feel to correct the projections is the specific pressure that breaks the sacred silence most consistently, not the pressure of opposition, the pressure of care, the pressure of love that wants to be able to say, "I am all right," and have them believe it, without having to explain the whole inner truth of the season. What I want to offer you here is a practice that is not deception and is not over-explanation. It is what I call the sufficient word. The sufficient word is the minimum true thing that addresses the immediate concern without violating the protection of the sacred secret. If someone who loves you expresses concern about your quiet, the sufficient word might be something like this: "I am in a season of deep internal work, and I am protecting the process. I am well. I will be more fully available on the other side." The sufficient word is honest. It is not a full disclosure of the sacred secret, but it is true enough to address the immediate concern without either lying or giving away what the formation needs you to hold. The sufficient word takes practice, because the wound that trained you to over-explain will resist the brevity of it. The part of you that wants to be fully understood will feel the insufficient word as a form of withholding that produces guilt. But the sufficient word is not withholding, it is precision. And the precision is an act of respect both for the person who asked and for the formation that requires the silence. There is also something important to say about the people who will push back against the sufficient word, who will say that they deserve more explanation, who will insist that their love for you entitles them to access to the full truth of the forming thing. These people are not wrong about their love, but they are wrong about what love entitles. Love does not entitle access to the sacred secret. Love, even the deepest human love, cannot override the protocol of the formation. And a relationship that requires the violation of the formation protocol as the price of its maintenance is a relationship that is asking you to choose between the love and the calling. And that choice is not a genuine choice, because the God who placed the calling in you is the same God who authored the love, and he did not design them to be in conflict. The relationships that are designed to walk with you all the way through the appointed moment are the relationships that can hold the season of your hiddenness without demanding full access to its contents. And if a relationship cannot hold your silence without crisis, it is telling you something important about its design, not about its value, about its function. And the function of a relationship that cannot hold your silence is not to carry the sacred secret with you. It is to receive the gift of your presence in the ways that the relationship was designed for, and to release you to the formation that the relationship was not designed to carry. This is a hard truth, but it is a compassionate one. Because the relationships that are released to find their natural function are freer to be what they actually are than the relationships that are being forced to be what they were never designed for. And the chosen one who has learned to release what was not designed for the formation is the chosen one who has created the space for what was designed for it to arrive. Let me say one more thing about the appointed moment. The moment when the sacred secret is finally released. The moment when what has been held in the quiet is finally spoken in the open. The appointed moment does not arrive in a vacuum. It arrives in a context that was prepared by everything that preceded it. The formation, the sacred silence, the protection, the completion of what was being built in the hidden place, all of it creates the context that the appointed moment requires. And the appointed moment, when it comes, is recognizable precisely because of that preparation. There is a quality of rightness that comes with the appointed moment that is unlike any other quality of any other moment. Not the rightness of circumstances aligning perfectly, though circumstances may align. Not the rightness of other people being ready to receive, though that may be part of it. The rightness of the appointed moment is internal. It is the settled, unshakable certainty of the Spirit that says this is the time. And the certainty of the Spirit, when it speaks the appointed moment, is not tentative, it is not ambiguous. It is not the kind of knowing that needs external confirmation before it becomes actionable. It is the kind of knowing that was described when Moses turned aside toward the burning bush. The knowing that did not require anyone else to validate the experience before he moved toward it. You will know the appointed moment, not by the absence of fear, by the presence of certainty that is larger than the fear, not by the readiness of the world, by the readiness of the formation inside you, not by the permission of those around you, by the commission of the Spirit within you. And when you know it, you will close the door on the formation season with the same intentionality that you kept it open. You will speak the forming thing with the authority of someone who has held it long enough to know its weight. And the speaking, when it comes, will be the kind of speaking that produces the recognition Moses produced in the face of Pharaoh. Not persuasion, not argument, not explanation. Just the word of the one who has been formed enough to carry it. And the world, which has been waiting for the formation to complete without knowing it was waiting, will recognize in the speaking what it could not have recognized in the announcing, because the announcing was the speaking of the unformed, and the world knows the difference between the unformed word and the formed one. The formed word does not need to argue for its authority. It carries the authority in the texture of itself. This is what is coming for you on the other side of this season, in the appointed moment that the formation has been preparing. The word with weight, the authority with roots, the calling with the substance of everything that was held in the quiet of the sacred secret. Trust the process, guard the secret, and meet the appointed moment with everything the formation has built in you. One more truth about the people of God who carried sacred silence before they carried public assignment. It is consistent across every wisdom figure who moved in the deepest levels of divine purpose. The quality of their eventual public word was directly proportional to the depth of their private silence, not the quantity of the silence, the depth. Moses did not just spend 40 years in the wilderness. He spent 40 years in a specific kind of wilderness, quiet, that deepened with every season. The first decade was the adjustment from palace noise to wilderness quiet. The second decade was the development of the capacity for sustained inner attention that the wilderness allowed. The third decade was the deepening of the formation, to the point where the frequency of the divine voice could be received clearly enough to act on. The burning bush was not a random event. It was the culmination of a formation that was complete, and the completeness of the formation was what made Moses capable of the conversation that the bush initiated. Not just the hearing of the voice. The capacity to hold the conversation, the capacity to ask the questions, the capacity to receive the commission, the capacity to carry the word back to the people who needed it. And you are in the third decade of your Moses formation right now. Whether it has been 40 years or 4 months, the quality of the formation is what matters, not the duration. And the quality of what has been built in you through the seasons of the sacred silence is now approaching the completeness that makes you capable of the conversation at the burning bush. Stay in the wilderness until the bush appears, not because you are stuck, because you are being formed. And the forming is the most important work of this entire season. The message is complete. The word has been spoken. The formation has been honored. The sacred secret has been protected and explained and commissioned. And everything that comes after this message, every day of the practice, every morning consecration, every pause before the mouth, every day of the sanctuary of one, every session with the restoration tools, is the living out of what was received here. The God who is furious on your behalf is also the God who is most proud of what he sees being built in you. The fury and the pride are the same thing. They are the fierce, relentless, unconditional love of a creator who sees what his creation is becoming and will not let anything interrupt the becoming before it is complete. You are seen, you are known, you are formed, and you are the carrier of a sacred secret that the appointed moment is waiting to receive. Close your mouth, guard the forming thing, and trust the God who sees what no announcement could have shown the world. And now for a final word before this message releases you. Not a new teaching, ascending. You are not leaving this message the same way you entered it. Something has been received here. Something has been named that could not be unnamed once it was named, and the naming is permanent. You cannot go back to the formation season before the word landed, because the word has already changed the formation. What you do with the change is yours. The practice of the 3 sacred movements begins the moment you close this message. The morning consecration begins with the first breath of tomorrow. The pause before the mouth begins in the next significant conversation. The sanctuary of one is waiting for you to identify who or what it is in your specific life, and the sacred audit will tell you, at the end of 7 days, how the practice has changed the quality of the formation. And somewhere in the next 30 days, at the appointed moment that this season has been preparing, the door that has been forming in the hidden place will show itself. Not with fanfare, not with announcement, with the quiet, unmistakable certainty of the Spirit that says now, and you will be ready. Not because this message prepared you, because the formation that God has been building in you through every season of the sacred silence will have been completed enough to receive the moment. That is the promise, not of this